So tonight I'm going to test out a new segment. I'm always trying to test stuff out to help you guys get to sleep until we find something that consistently works or you really like or you really dislike. And tonight's going to be an ongoing kind of serial story about, it's a fairy tale. But I was playing with dolls the other day, these Cinderella dolls, and the girl I was playing with made me be the stepmother and the stepsisters, so I kind of got the short end of the stick or so I thought. But then I started thinking, what happened to these three after the original story of Cinderella? Whether you have the Disney story or the original fairy tale, which I'm not sure if it's by Grimm or Hans Christian Andersen or someone else, but I will put that in the show notes for sure. And I was thinking, what happened to them after? I know Disney made a couple direct-to-DVD movies, which I haven't seen. I may be stuck in my subconscious, and I did see it, and I'm just retelling that story. But here's what I think happened. There's a sound of pixie dust in your mind. Tingle, tingle, tingle. Well, first thing was after Cinderella moved into the castle, married the prince, became the princess of the land. The stepmother, she's a very rational woman. So the first thing she did was marry her daughters off. And her first daughter, she married off to an innkeeper. And the dowry for her daughter was, and I think you usually pay a dowry, but, the stepmother, she's too smooth. It would be dinner with ale or wine every night at the inn. And the second daughter, she married off to one of the bigger farmers in the area in exchange for milk and eggs, cheese, bread, meat, all the staples. So she kind of set herself up, and then she started to plot about how she would get back into Cinderella's good graces and, get herself into the castle. So she figured she would just throw herself at Cinderella's mercy and apologize. So she went up to the castle, and she asked to see her daughter, her stepdaughter, and the captain of the guard came down. He said, "I'm sorry, she refuses to see you, but if you come every day and check in," she said, "at some point she'll grant you an audience. But at this point she's still upset with the way you treated her." So every day she would get up, the stepmother, and go up to the castle and present herself, and they would say, "Okay, wait, and we'll see. Just wait here, and we'll see if Cinderella wants to see you or not." Well, they would say the princess, obviously. And the stepmother would wait all day, and you could tell it was a little passive-aggressive action on Cinderella's part. And they wouldn't give her an audience. But the stepmother, being the intelligent, cunning woman she is, she used her time to see who was going in and out of the castle. And when she was at the inn, if people needed information about what salt trader was getting more time at the castle or yada, 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 she could sell that information. But there was one thing that stuck out to her, was that every single day, this old bundled woman came. And she would come in the morning, and then she would leave at midday. And after a couple weeks of this, the stepmother called, when she called in the morning on the captain of the guard to see if she was going to get her audience. She said, who's that woman that comes every day? You know the one I'm talking about, the kindly-looking, stout woman? The captain of the guard said, "Oh, that's the princess's trusted advisor." She said, "Oh, what's her name?" He said, "Oh, I don't know." "Well, what does she advise the princess on?" "I'm not sure. They meet in private." "Oh, well, where's she from?" "I'm not sure of that either." "So, you're protecting the princess and you're letting her meet alone with this old woman? And you don't know what they're talking about? Or who she is?" And the captain of the guard, he kind of knew who the stepmother was. He said, "Listen, you old sow. Don't try to poison my mind. I know your tricks. Be gone for the day." And he sends her off. Stepmother decided to start following her at the end of the day. She would give her some space, and she would follow her. And the first time she followed her, she noticed she would go deep, deep into the wood. And every day, she would get deep into this one grove of trees, and she would pull out a magic wand, touch the air, and disappear. And the stepmother followed her for about 2 weeks, and she saw the same thing every day. And then she was like, oh, okay, and I'm going to try to see when she gets here in the morning. So she decided to mark the spot with a few stones. The only difference in the days was that one day she went and she touched a bird who had a broken wing and it was struggling on the ground. And as soon as she touched it with the wand, the bird's wing was healed and it flew off. The stepmother decides to hide out in the woods in the morning, and she finds a spot and she's hiding there. And she notices another bird with a broken wing in the morning. Is that the same bird? It rebroke its wing, or new bird? But anyway, and then all of a sudden, the kindly old woman appears, and she goes about gathering some rocks and sticks. And the stepmother was afraid she was going to get found, but she didn't find her. And she lines up the sticks and hits them with the wand. They turn into loaves of bread. Then she hits a rock. It turns into a pot of steaming tea. She hits another couple. They turn into teacups, and then a picnic basket, and then even a bottle of wine. And with that, she packs everything up, and she heads off to the castle. You know, the stepmother, she would always look around, and she'd try to figure out if there's any evidence left behind of the magic, but there never was. And so she watched this for a couple days, and then she called the captain of the guard. And she said, you know that woman, the old, kindly old woman that you've been letting be alone with the princess? You know she's a practitioner of the dark arts. And the captain of the guard is, he's like, he's yelling at the stepmother. She said, oh, I have evidence. I wouldn't just blindly go about accusing elderly women of being witches if I didn't have some proof. She said, we'll just wait, and tomorrow when she leaves, we'll follow her and you'll see. And the captain of the guard, he had his suspicions, but at the same time, this was his job, and he was a little bit worried. Oh, man, what if she's right? So the next day, the stepmother left. As the kindly old woman left, who we all know at this point is the fairy godmother, the stepmother and the captain of the guard followed her. She went deep into the woods, and she pulled out her wand, and she disappeared. And the captain of the guard was in shock. And the stepmother said, okay, just wait till tomorrow. Don't tell anyone about this. We're going to meet here in this hiding spot tomorrow morning. And they hid in the morning, and the fairy godmother appeared, and she made the bread and the wine and the tea, and then she headed off to the castle. And at this point, the captain of the guard was beside him, so he's like, I've been drinking that wine every night with dinner. He's wondering if he's been poisoned or he's under some sort of spell. And, the stepmother's just egging him on, like, what kind of horrible things could she be doing to the princess? What kind of awful stuff is about? And the captain of the guard, he was kind of... He took things very seriously, so he saw this dark arts. He was not into New Agey stuff at all. So it was only evil. Witches could only be evil. He didn't buy into the fairy godmother paradigm. And he was afraid he was going to lose his job or be beheaded for failing his duty. And so he's like, well, I don't know, what am I going to do? And the fairy godmother said, don't worry. I have a very, very good plan of what we're going to do. Now, if you're still listening at this point, it's going to get really boring at this point, and you're not going to miss any part of the plot, so you don't have to pay attention anymore. But so the the stepmother said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." And she went off and she went home, and she said, "I won't be back." She's not going to be at the castle for a few days. She went out to the farm, and she called her 2 daughters, and all the farmers' children and his children's children, and he had them go out. Had everyone go out and gather as many sticks as they could. So they would go out in the woods, and they're picking up sticks and branches and bringing them back. And then the stepmother had this huge pile of branches, and then she wanted them to break them off into little pieces, wand-sized pieces. So they'd spend all this time breaking off the little tips of branches, breaking off those little nubs, and then taking sandpaper or leather or whatever they used back then and rubbing them down to a sheen. It's so much work, repeating this over and over and over again. And at the same time, she was at the inn trying to learn more about, as much about the dark arts. She was asking anyone, does anyone tell me all the tales of magical women, So she was gathering all this information, and she was hearing the good and the bad. And she, of course, didn't buy the fairy godmother thing either. She knew there has to be an angle. There's always an angle. So she went through the village and talked to all the different sects of religion and saw what that's SECTS of religion, found out. And so she was doing her research, and she was gathering these wands, so she was up to something. And another thing is that, she had this kind of, up until this point, a sedentary lifestyle. So she was eating at the inn every night and drinking wine and living on bread and cheese during the day. So she'd kind of grown plump herself. And then she kind of went for a makeover, and she went to the salon or whatever they call it there, and she tried to, can you make me look nicer? And so they definitely changed her hair, and they said, well, what you definitely don't want to do is pull your hair that tight because it makes your face so harsh. And you should try to smile. And so she got this she tried to be like become a plump, nice woman. And how this plays in to what happens next, you'll have to wait and see. But the stepmother has a plan. And I hope this helped you fall asleep. So, stepmother's got all these sticks, and she bundles them up into a big bundle, like a sack, and she puts them on her shoulders, and she heads back out to the castle right around the time the fairy godmother's leaving the castle for the day. So kind of like mid to late afternoon. And she times it perfectly. And right as the fairy godmother is kind of coming out of the castle, kind of lost in her thoughts, stepmother plows into her with her bundle of sticks, and the sticks go everywhere. And she really hit her hard, so the godmother goes flying, sprawls out, totally wiped out. And then the captain of the guard comes running along, and he picks up the fairy godmother and brushes her off, and he brushes her off real hard. And he says, "Oh my goodness," and he says, "You stick wench, you have. Wait, look what you did to the queen's advisor, the princess's advisor." And he's screaming at the stepmother. Of course he's acting, but he brushes off the godmother. He picks up a stick or a wand, hands it to her, and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. The godmother's really, when you get hit blindsided by someone, even if it's an accident," she was kind of pissed, but she's got a lot of self-control, so but she's a little flustered, so she's kind of like in a daze, and she just wanders back down the road off into the woods. And she wanders off into the woods, and she gets to the spot where she, every day she would go and pull out her wand and touch the air, and she would vanish off somewhere. We still don't know where fairy godmothers go, but she goes and she pulls out her wand, and she touches the air, and nothing happens. And she does it again, nothing happens. And she takes a look at her wand, something's not right here. And then she gets a good look at the wand, and she realizes it's not her wand, and she's like, oh, that darn stick woman. So she gets ready to rush back. She's like, oh, just run back to that woman and figure out which one's my wand. Total mix-up here. And all of a sudden, out of the bushes come the town's guard and the sheriff of the town. And he says, "Excuse me, woman. What are you about?" Or some type of phrasing like that. And the fair godmother says, "Oh, I'm just out for a stroll, I said, "Well, what was with that stick, touching the air with the stick?" She goes, "Oh, I fancy myself making that I can make the birds sing, and I kind of just, conduct their singing, much like, a musical group." And he says, "Really? Because it looked like you were mumbling something." She goes, "Oh, yes, I was just mumbling, sing, little birdies, sing." And he says, "Arrest this woman." He says, "You can't fool us with your tricks, you witch." And they arrest her, and they haul her off into town. Meanwhile, back at the castle, outside the castle, stepmother gathers back up all the sticks, and presumably somewhere among these sticks that went flying everywhere when she plowed into the stepmother are is the godmother's wand. Stepmother and godmother, I kind of mix those things up. I apologize, but so she gathers everything up. She goes home, and as soon as she gets home, she's unbelievably proud of herself and excited. So she has a glass of wine, and she puts the bundle, lays it out on her floor, and she starts going through stick by stick. And I won't do that right now for you, because it's not time to start counting sticks yet. I'm trying to ease you into the sleep, but she goes through the sticks, and she puts a pile of no's, a pile of maybes, and a pile of probablys for the wand, because the sticks were in varying degrees of wand-like wandiness, I guess would be the term. And she gets everything piled up there. She double-checks the no's. Okay. She goes through the maybes, and she gets a rock from her garden, and she goes through every maybe and taps the rock, and nothing happens. Okay. And then she goes through the definite probably pile and touches the rock with each one, and nothing happens. So she does it again with the probablys and the maybes. Nothing happens. She goes through the definitely nots and does that twice and nothing happens. So she thinks, maybe it's that spot in the woods. That's the only place this witch's magic works. So she gathers everything up, and she goes to that spot in the woods where the stepmother is, and or where the godmother would appear. And she gets a rock from the woods there, and she starts going through, and nothing happens. She goes through 2 or 3 times, and nothing happens. She says, She replays the events of the earlier in the day in her mind, and she's positive that she's pretty positive that she has the right wand, or the wand's there among her pile. So she takes a deep breath, and she lies everything out in a row, and she looks over everything, and she starts going through them again, real slow, and she tries different flourishes and stuff. And meanwhile, while she's doing it, she hears, "Fairy godmother, fairy godmother." And she looks around, all of a sudden, right into the clearing she's standing in, comes this young woman. It's not Cinderella, it's just a young woman. She says, Oh, sorry, ma'am. I'm looking for someone else. And the stepmother's like, "Oh, good day to you." And the young woman's kind of tentative, and she says, "Oh, good day to you, ma'am." And, Stepmother's thinking, man, fairy godmother, eh? What's that? And then she remembers some old wives' tales that were spun at her mother's knee. She said, oh, well, who are you looking for? And the young woman's like, just a friend. So, well, oh. And she notices that girl's very, very well dressed, but in clothing more appropriate for not a servant, but someone that serves. So, oh, you're dressed in such lovely fineries. Are you from the castle? And the young one's like, oh yes, I'm the princess's assistant, Princess Cinderella. And she's like, oh my, how wonderful to meet you. And she curtsies and she says, oh, I also serve a princess as an advisor. And the young woman's like, really? And she says, yes, I'm just here. I've had an accident with my wand. Have you seen your princess's godmother's wand? So, oh yes, she let me hold it one time. Oh, you know what? It's quite similar to this stick. You notice how it has this one dot right here? It's almost exactly the same. And she says, oh yes, I was just testing you, dear, to make sure you knew that you weren't playing with me. All our wands are the same. They're made at the same wand factory by the same wand master. So, well, have you seen another godmother? She's quite a bit like you, but her face is a little softer, and she smiles quite often. And somebody's like, no, why do you ask? And well, the princess is quite afraid because she just had this nightmare during her nap that something horrible happened to her. So, oh, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. Off with you. Why don't you return to the princess? So the young woman goes back off to serve the princess, and stepmother's again beside herself with joy. She's got the wand now. And even in her hand, she can sense some power that she didn't sense before. And then she goes and she touches the rock, and she's paying strict attention, and nothing happens. And she says, bread, and she touches the rock. It doesn't turn to bread. She said, wine. She notices a little shimmer of something, but nothing's happening, and she's just exhausted. She spends hours doing this, and she goes home with the wand, and she tries everything, and she can't figure it out. So she sucks it up, and she heads down to the jail. And, the sheriff knew she was the one that snitched on the godmother, so he lets her. She's like, I'd like to speak to this woman because she's been, planning her evil witch thoughts in my daughter's mind. So he lets her go in, and the godmother, she's just sitting in her cell, cool and collected, and she's like, it's you. She's like, somehow I was expecting you. Stepmother says, yes. And she said, so you have my wand? So, yes, I do. She said, what do you want with my wand? It's of no use to you. Someone's like, oh, I think it is. Do you value your life? And the godmother asked her the same question. Do you value yours? Of course. And they go back and forth trying to feel each other out. And the godmother's, kind of trying to, she's like, you don't know the consequences of your actions. The stepmother's like, I don't care for the consequences of my actions. You're the one in the cell. You have no power over me anymore. And then finally, the godmother's like, I'm sick of this. She goes, you're here because you can't use the wand, aren't you? She's like, I sensed someone watching me in the woods all those days, but I thought it was just a paranoia or imagination or something. There's a magic word to make the wand work. The stepmother's like, really? She's like, do you want to know the word? The stepmother's like, are you trying to trick me? She's like, no. I'll gladly give you the word, the magic word. But the wand will destroy you. So, again, I ask you, do you value your life? Stepmother says, "Of course. What is this witchery you're trying on me?" So, well, I'll give you the magic word. But I'm telling you, the wand will destroy you. She said, well, because it's a trick magic word, you're trying to trick me somehow. So, no, I'll give you the magic word. You can use the wand as you like. And if you wish to return to me and beg me for my mercy and forgiveness and return the wand to me, I'll be here, obviously, because I'm locked in jail. I'll take you out of your misery. The best thing you can do is give it to me now, because I promise you, me being in the cell is nothing compared to what you're going to suffer at the hands of that wand. I have a greater mission than dealing with your nonsense, and you're taking me from that nonsense, and so I will escape, and I will let the wand destroy you. Stepmother takes a deep breath because she's a player. She's not here to be played. She's trying to get an angle on the godmother. So she figures, okay, we'll see about this wand. And she says, just give me the magic word, and I'll take what you said with a grain of salt. I'll think about it. Maybe I won't even use the wand, but just give me the password. And the godmother says, it's Alakazoo. I said, okay. Good day. And the godmother says, this is your last warning. Your last warning. I said good day. So we're going to leave it tonight there. But if you're still awake, okay, let's lie down, get in a nice, comfortable position, and then we're going to just try to clear your mind again, listen to my voice, and you're going to picture a wand with wings and little tiny legs, and it's running towards the fence and jumping over, flapping its wings and landing on the other side. The stepmother tries one wand, flies over the fence, and 2 wands, and 3 wands over the fence, and 4 wands over the fence, and 5 wands over the fence. It just sounded like a serial killer there in that 5 wand. 6 wands fly over the fence, and 7 wands fly over the fence, and 8 wands fly over the fence, and 9 wands fly over the fence, and 10 wands fly over the fence, and 11 wands fly over the fence, and 12 wands, 13, 14, so we don't end on 13, 15 wands, and now there's a flock of wands in the sky, flying and flying. They're going south for the winter. You're with them, you're flying on a bed of comfortable wands, going someplace warm. Good night. When we last let off, the stepmother and the godmother had just had a showdown, a kind of face-off, because the stepmother had stolen the godmother's wand, and she needed the magic word to make the wand work, and she confronted the godmother in her jail cell, and the godmother said, I'll give you the magic word, but there's going to be consequences. And the stepmother ended up taking the magic word and heading off. But meanwhile, the godmother's stuck in this jail cell, and she spends most of her time amusing herself by scaring the jailers because they think she's some sort of powerful witch, which she may or may not be. She's only accused of being a witch. We should know. That's an allegation right now. Okay, so, she's just, anytime a jailer brings her food, she's like, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. And they jump and they run away. But she's also worried. She's trying to maintain this facade, but clearly the godmother is there for a reason and dealing with Cinderella for a reason. She got her into being, I don't know if she's some sort of queen maker. I'm not sure what her angle is. I haven't discovered it yet, but she's on a mission, or at least her mission in life is to help Cinderella. I don't know. So she finally asked the jailer, she said, can you send me the sheriff? And the sheriff sits down, and he's a little bit worried because they haven't locked up a witch before. And he says, what do you want, witch? She says, please call me Penelope. That's what my friends call me. He says, you're no friend of mine, witch. And she says, when's my trial? He says, there's no trial for witches. He's like, we're going to burn you. When will I be burned? So, well, we've been told to wait till the princess is out of town and she's heading over to that Lilyland or whatever it's called, that other, that nearby town on a tour. So we'll burn you when the princess is out of town. So, So she says, do I get a last request? And he says, we don't give witches last requests. She's like, okay, let me reframe it. I'm a witch, correct? Don't you think it's within my power to destroy this jail? He said, really? Well, why are you sitting there? Like, well, if it is within my power to destroy this jail, or to find out every secret about you, I will, and I will destroy you. Or you could simply grant me my last request. I appreciate a trial and all that, fair trial, and not to be burned. But would you just grant me a request? And he said, well, it depends. What's your last request? She says, I'd like to speak to the captain of the guard. Could you bring him here? I said, all right. Yeah, I can do that. It's not a big deal. You're not going to destroy the jail, right? If you're going to do it, just let me know when I'm not here. I just work during the day. And that secret stuff about destroying me, you're not going to tell anybody about what I do with the frogs, are you? Godmother says, Penelope, the godmother says, no, just send me the captain of the guard. So the jailer, sheriff goes off. Sheriff goes off, summons the captain of the guard. Captain of the guard comes down and says, why do you call me here, witch? And she says, do you know what that woman was about that got you involved with imprisoning me? I said, no, yeah, she's a concerned citizen. It's actually her daughter is the princess. And, she didn't want a witch hanging out with her daughter. Really, that's all. She didn't have any other ambitions. And the captain guard says, no. What do you want? Why'd you call me here anyway? She said, has the princess asked about me, where I am? And he says, yeah. What do you tell her? I said, sorry, Mom. Sorry, miss. I don't know. And, so aren't you worried about your job of the princess finding out where I am? He said, no. I don't think she's going to find out where you are. And she says, did that woman give you anything in exchange for imprisoning me? And she says, no. The godmother said, listen, you fancy the princess, don't you? The cabinet goes, what? She goes, you want to keep the princess safe, correct? He says, of course, that's my duty as captain of the guard. She's like, you've not taken a wife, have you? She says, no, my duty is my wife. She said, you fancy the princess, don't you? The captain of the guard says, what do you want, witch? She says, have I ever brought harm to the princess? Do you guys like how I change my accent every few minutes? I'm sorry, but pull you out of the story even. But you should be falling asleep anyway. And he said, I don't know. I'm not in there with you when you meet with her alone. I have no idea what you're about. She said, what if my job... Okay, maybe I am a witch. What if I'm a good witch? And he says, there's no good witches. The good Lord is the only one with power of that sort. So, well, okay, what if... Could you put in your head that I'm actually here to keep the princess safe as well? He said, no, I don't buy that. The guy was, man, this guy, she's thinking, this guy is, wow. Okay. You want to keep the princess safe, and I sense you have a love for her. Whatever that love is, it's yours to keep. What if I tell you I know a secret about the princess? He said, I'm not interested in your tricks, witch. But really, he moved forward, and I see it a bit. He said, She goes, I know a dark secret about the princess, about an evil she faces. Are you interested in keeping her safe? He says, go on, witch. She said, well, one, the lady you got involved with, she's probably a threat to the princess, so keep an eye on her. But she said there's a much darker menace the princess faces from her husband. The captain of the guard tries not to look interested because he's trying to be partial. He's supposed to keep everybody else safe, too. He says, what do you mean, witch? She says, the prince harms the princess. He says, how? I've never seen him lay hand on her. She says, under her clothes, her underclothes is where he harms her. He beats her. And someday he may kill her. The guard says, well, I need some proof then, because I don't buy your tales, witch. But secretly inside his blood's boiling because he never liked the prince. He really does have the hots for Cinderella. And, every day when he goes to bed, he's thinking about their wedding day and their wedding night. Believe me, that's all he can think about. Even every time he sees her, his knees go weak. It's one of those deep abiding, or unabiding, I don't know. He's in love with Cinderella. And his blood's boiling with murderous rage that anyone would ever harm her. Penelope, the godmother, she says, well, I don't need to provide proof. I can see it in your eyes. If you wish to keep Cinderella safe, it is your choice what to do. And I know your heart will guide you. So the cabinet guard storms out. And that's where we're going to leave it tonight. But crush is one good way to fall asleep, is to think about someone you have a crush on. If you don't have a crush, maybe you should come up with one. But that's what the captain of the guard does. He gets in bed, pulls up his rags or his wool covers, and he pictures like Cinderella running through these endless fields of flowers. Her hair's flowing. Her dress is flapping in the breeze. Roses are raining from the heavens, and her arms are open. She's running towards him over hills and valleys, through a refreshing stream. She's just running into his arms, across plains, fruited plains, majestic mountains that are purple. She's so beautiful. The skies are gracious. Behind her ears, an amber waif of grain. She's still running towards him. She's as light as the breeze is on your face. Slowly blowing closer and closer slowly waiting for the dreams to come, as he dreams of Cinderella, and you dream of your prince or princess. Good night. And that's where we pick things up, is at the cottage of the stepmother. She's got this wand. For a couple days, she just kind of left it sitting on her kitchen table because it was freaking her out. The fairy godmother told her it would spell her doom using the wand, and that would have these horrible consequences, but she didn't go into detail, so she stirred up the stepmother's imagination, and she was picturing herself melting or, going to an alternative universe, whatever conceptually that meant back then, but, something horrible happening, breaking out in boils or blisters, so she didn't do anything for a while. But finally, her curiosity and just her desire to, get back into her daughter's good graces, she figured this wand got the godmother. The fairy godmother was meeting with the princess every single day, so this had to have some value. So she went out in the woods. She didn't want to blow up her cottage, obviously. She's got to live there. And she started real small. She started turning stones into sticks and sticks into stones. She didn't break anybody's bones. And she waited to see if they would blow up, and they didn't. Then she tried the old rocks into loaves and fishes and water into wine. And nothing bad happened there. And the food was pretty good. The wine was tasty. Not as good as in the big book, but not bad. She started doing other stuff, nothing major, but just taking little steps. She turned an ant into a bug. Then she started having fun with changing animals around, and she made a jackalope and sent it off on its way. So she started playing, and she got more and more confident. And she's like, okay, I think I got this, how this works. So it transforms stuff. And you can change a living thing into another living thing, or a non-living thing into another non-living thing. And she found out size doesn't matter when she changed a bird into an elephant. And of course, she of course already forgot about the consequences. And every once in a while she'd be curious after the elephant ran off what happened to it, but she could care less. And then she was like thinking, what's my next move here? And to be honest, her husband had passed away a long time ago. She was kind of lonely. And at one point she saw a mouse kind of creeping around her cottage. She tapped in, turned it into a stable boy. She took the stable boy into her bed, let's just say that. Had some fun with the stable boy. He was mute because she was asking him, where are you from, or whatever. She just laughed and enjoyed his company, his physical company. And then she threw him out. Yeah. And again, this lady, she's an evil stepmother. I guess, or not good stepmother. She's evil. In fairy tales usually signifies she has some evil power. Right now she does. She has the wand. So after the stable boy, she was curious if something would happen, and she was old enough she couldn't have kids, so she wasn't worried about some demon baby being in her womb, but nothing happened, no fallout. The stable boy didn't come back and break down her house or burn it down. And she even asked about it at the end. Because if you know from episode 1, one of her daughters, she married off to an innkeeper. So most nights she could be found at this inn eating free dinner and wine. And she asked around about this mute stable boy. But no one had ever heard of him, so she figured he must be from out of town. And then it hits her. She thinks about out of town. She starts thinking about the godmother, the fairy godmother. If she gets her plan. And the next morning, she goes into the woods, the clearing where she first saw the fairy godmother appear. She changes herself into the fairy godmother. She comes up with her plan, and she goes down that afternoon, calls for the captain of the guard. He's like, "Oh, you haven't been here in a while. Usually you're here every day waiting for your daughter." She says, "Oh, I know she'll come around." He says, "Listen, that godmother, that woman, she's still locked up, right?" He said, "Oh, yes, her name's Penelope, by the way. Let's refer to her as Penelope, the witch Penelope from now on, as opposed to that old woman." You say, "Okay, whatever, the witch Penelope, she's still in jail, right?" He says, "Yes." She says, "Well, don't be alarmed tomorrow. She's still going to be in jail, but..." She tells him, "Don't worry, tomorrow I learned she has a sister who's not a witch, and she's going to come tomorrow and visit the princess." It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the captain of the guard's not the brightest dude. He says, "Okay, whatever." So she goes back to the spot where she first saw the godmother. She turns herself into the godmother. And then she grabs a rock and some sticks, turns it into bread and wine, tea, and a picnic basket. And she heads off to the castle like she's the fairy godmother, or to her, this old witch. And meanwhile, the captain of the guard's sitting there, tending the gate with the other guards, and he sees the godmother rolling up the path. And all the other guards, they loved the godmother, because she'd have his bottle of wine, and they'd get to hit that, and she had usually some bread or some cheese. So, "Oh, we've missed you so." Like captain of the guard's like, "Oh, good God. I had this lady thrown in jail. Meanwhile, I can't tell anybody because I don't want the princess to find out." So he's like waiting for her to blast him with a lightning bolt, or she says, "Oh, greetings, Captain." And she gives these guys some bread and some wine, and they're, "Oh, godmother, princess has been beside herself. Where have you been?" She goes, "Oh, her godmother, they call her Penelope. Turns out that's her name, Penelope." And, "Oh, Miss Penelope, Miss Penelope." And the princess will be so overjoyed, and then the princess's assistant comes out, and she's hugging the stepmother, who's pretending to be the godmother, whose name is Penelope. "Oh, Penelope, come, see the princess, come." So she rushes in. They go into the Cinderella's private chamber, which is the stepmother can't believe this place. The castle's off the hook. And she's sitting in this chamber. It's got stained glass, gold stuff, and baubles, all sorts of fancy stuff, tapestries. And, she sits there, and all of a sudden Cinderella comes in, and Cinderella looks magnificent. And she looks grave, like scared or afraid or something. And as soon as she comes in, she takes the Penelope, the stepmother, the godmother combo, hugs her, and she starts weeping and weeping and weeping. She's so upset. She's crying and crying and crying. And the stepmother, she has to dig real deep to find some mothering instincts, because she's a terrible mother. But she's so manipulative that she knows. So she rubs her back. She says, "Oh, child, oh, child," She holds her and lets her weep until, after you weep and you feel like a shell, and she's just breathing, and she's still holding her, comforting her, and she says, "Oh, what's the matter, my child?" She says, "Oh, I was so afraid you weren't going to return, and I missed you so. I was afraid something terrible befell you." So, "Oh, child, no, it's fine, it's fine." So, don't be so concerned. And just, it's okay. I'll be here for you every day, just like in the past. And she thinks she's got her countdown. Then Cinderella starts crying again. She's crying, racking with sobs. She's like, "Oh, fairy godmother. Oh, Penelope, I failed you so. She's like, I failed at what you asked of me. She said, oh, it's okay, child, it's okay. And she doesn't know, of course, what Cinderella's talking about. Oh, child, you could never let me down. She's like, oh, but I have. What you told me never, ever to let happen. And if it did happen, you told me to take the steps. I failed you. And she's crying. And she says, well, okay, tell me exactly what happened again. And she's like, well, it was one night, and it was a lovely ball we were having for a out-of-town king and queen, and there was dancing and drink, and the prince and I, we danced, and you know I love to dance. Sorry, my accent's strange today. And I was flush with wine, and the prince, despite all the things you told me, and despite all the promises you made me, he was quite handsome that night, and maybe it was the wine. And I felt the stirring inside me, and I know you've told me to destroy that stirring, but it was a yearning to have my skin against his, and I couldn't control myself. And, stepmother's like, okay, dear, okay. She said, and just in the middle of the dance, the prince swept me off the floor, swept me into a root cellar, and she starts weeping again. And the stepmother obviously knows, okay. And the stepmother first, she's like, well, child, he is your husband. And she catches Cinderella's weeping so hard, she didn't quite hear that. And she says, well, no, but stepmother, I didn't take the precautions either, to put inside of me. And she's crying, and she's just like, I'm afraid, I'm so afraid. And stepmother's like, wait a second. And she says, child, they've been so sick. Let's sit and so I can help you. Explain to me exactly what you're afraid of, so that I can better. She's like, well, you told me I could never bear the child of the prince, and to avoid him at all costs. And if he asked me for physical contact, to be as cold and unpassionate as possible, and to block him if he does enter me from making a child inside me, because you told me I didn't. You told me that was my mission of why I was princess. You told me I would never become queen. So this stepmother's like, thinking this doesn't make any sense, but she's like, okay, that's this godmother's angle to keep her from getting pregnant. She becomes wicked curious. So I was like, I also know that you will punish me. I said, well. She starts crying again. She says, okay. She's like, but you did say something could be done if I find I'm with child, but I don't even know yet. That I would save me from punishment, even if whatever it means. Please, Penelope, don't. She said, okay, calm down. We don't know if you're a child yet. Let's just wait and see. Got the stepmother here. We don't know if she's pregnant or not, and we don't know why. The godmother wants it so badly to stop it, and we need to find out, and the stepmother wants to find out, and that's where we'll go next. And where you'll go next is, if you had a magic wand, what would you do? And you said, Alakazoo. Could what animals could you give wings and would they fly? Like a flying horse. Well, that'd be a Pegasus flying through the air. In the clouds. What if you gave a cloud wings? The cloud was flying through the clouds. A flying cloud with wings. Floating and flapping its wings. Then it lands by you and says, "Hey, climb aboard. I'm a cloud bed with wings. You climb aboard." And the cloud is so soft and comfortable, and it flies its wings. And it flies through other clouds that are even softer. And your lids get heavy. You start to sink deeper into this cloud, flapping its wings. The more it flaps, the deeper you sink. Further, further away. The cloud's flapping its wings, and you're falling asleep. Further, further into the cloud. Good night. And tonight starts with the stepmother. She's at home. She just turned another mouse into a stable boy, had her way with him, and sent him on his way. She's just, basking in the glow, drinking a glass of wine. It's dusk or nighttime. And boom, 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 there's a knock at her door. She wonders if it's the stable boy. They never come back, she thinks, but maybe this one did. And she opens it, and the captain of the guard's there, and he's wasted. And he's, tearful, and he just lets him. She's like, he just walks right in. She's like, "Oh, just let yourself in. I need your help." And she has him sit down at the table, and she's kind of disgusted with him, and he's all weeping, and finally she just grabs him by his shoulders and slaps him. She said, "What's your problem?" He's like, Your daughter's being beaten by her husband." She says, "What?" And she says, "Oh, the prince is beating Cinderella at night under her clothes or something." And stepmother's like, she has really no heart for Cinderella. She says, "Well, isn't that what the husband's prerogative?" And he's weeping. "Oh, poor Cinderella, poor Cinderella. You gotta help me." And she's like, "Why do I have to help you again?" He's like, he could really hurt her. What if we hurt her? And then finally he gets serious. He's like, I need to kill him. You have to help me kill him. And stepmother kind of looks him over. She takes a breath. She's like, "Get out of my house." And he's like, "If you don't help me, I'll just kill him on my own. I'll probably be arrested, but if I am, I'm going to tell them admit to everything about capturing the witch and everything and throw myself at Cinderella's mercy." She said, whoa, okay. Sit back down. First off, the prince is the king and queen's only son. So, you kill him, they're going to throw Cinderella out, they might have her killed. You don't know, killing the prince is not going to help Cinderella. She's like, no, I think we need to kill him. She's like, she goes, "That's not going to help anything." And he's like, "Well, he needs to be stopped. I need to protect Cinderella. It's my sworn duty as captain of the guard." She's like, "Really? The captain of the guard's supposed to kill the future king?" He's like, "Well, I'm the captain of the princess guard." "Yeah, but is your sworn duty to the king and queen first?" "Well, I did. Woman, why are you arguing with me? I need to keep Cinderella safe." So she said, "Well, killing him's out." She says, what if you, threaten him?" He's like, "I'll lose my job." And then it hits the stepmother. She said, I have an idea. She'd been playing around with the wand and trying to come up with different stuff. So she pours a little wine into a small jug. And she says, leave the house. And come back in a few minutes. And as soon as he leaves, she touches the jug. And she she's like makes a potion. And then he comes back in. He goes, you know what I was thinking when I was outside? He goes, I don't even know your name. We just call you Grizzle Face behind your back, the stepmother. She says, my name's Agatha, thank you. So, well, Miss Agatha, what's your plan? She says, here's what you're going to do. You need to scare the prince into not beating Cinderella if he's beating her. So you're going to take, I'm going to give you this potion that I stole from that witch. And you're going to hide in the prince's room. And when he goes to bed, you're going to take this potion. It'll turn you into a demon. And eventually it'll wear off. Don't worry, you're not going to be permanently demon, but you just scare him. Tell him you're on to him. And, you know, you're gonna mess him up. You're going to come every night and terrorize him if he lays any hand on the princess. So he says, all right. So he goes into the castle, hides under the prince's bed. And prince and princess, they sleep in separate rooms, just in case you're wondering. So he hides under the prince's bed. Prince comes in, gets in bed, goes to sleep. He pops it, drinks his potion. He turns into this huge, hairy beast, almost like what we would call a werewolf type demon. He gets out from under the bed. And he wakes the prince up. He's growling at him and screaming. The prince is terrified. He says, don't speak a word. I'll eat you. The prince is obviously, he's so scared. I mean, so all of a sudden, he goes, well, what madness is this? He goes, I'm a demon. And he goes, well, what do you want, demon? Hold on, I'm thinking of what I want. I want you to leave that princess alone. And if you don't, I'll come here every night. And every time you touch her, I'll eat one of your toes. So I quite like my toes. Do you need any gold or anything, demon? Or maybe why don't you come work for me? I'm going to be the king soon. I could use a demon. I don't. He just growls. He's so flustered. He goes, I just need you to play. Do not beat the princess. The prince is kind of like he's one of those people. He's always got an answer for everything. So they go back and forth, and finally, it hits midnight, and the demon's trying to, the captain of the guard's trying to build up into his scary demon ship, and next thing you know, he starts feeling funny, and his hair starts shrinking, his muscles start going back to normal. And next thing you know, he's back to the captain of the guard. And the prince is like, What the heck's going on here? You're supposed to be the captain of my wife's guard. You were just a demon. And then, for once, the captain of the guard gets some kind of clue, and he's just acting all dazed. He kind of is a little bit dazed. But he's like, oh, I was captured by an evil witch woman, and she told me, I don't even know what happened. She fed me this evil potion, and I just ended up, what happened? Because, well, you tell me I was beating the princess. I would never beat her. I love her with all my heart and soul. And then you're threatening to eat my toes. What kind of weird demon, toe-eating demon? Because I quite like my toes. I have wonderful toes. Cinderella loves them as well. And, so what the hell, what the hell, let me get this straight. Somebody turned you into a demon and sent you here to eat my toes. Is that, because I don't know, I don't remember a thing. Because it's strange, because I don't beat the princess. So I don't know what, he goes, we're going to have to, who's this witch and how did she catch you? And, the prince knows something's not right, but he also knows this captain of the guard's not such a big. He goes, what kind of, he goes, I might be able, can she make demons whenever she wants? And what did she give me? He's like, she gave me a potion. Okay, the prince is like, all right, well, don't tell anybody about this. And, I don't beat Cinderella, so don't worry about that. You just keep guarding Cinderella and just act like nothing's wrong. And you're going to point out where this witch is. We'll figure stuff. I'm going to figure this out. So, be gone. And so, Captain Guard leaves, and he's a little bit mixed up. He's like, okay, am I in trouble or not? He was actually hoping that the prince would die of a heart attack or something, and he would get married to Cinderella. So, the fact that the prince is in love with Cinderella kind of ticks him off. So he goes home and goes to bed, and he's got to figure out, is he going to tell the prince about the stepmother, Agatha, or the fairy godmother that's in jail? And so he gets in bed. Back at the castle, the prince gets in bed. The prince, he just, he's even though he's an adult, he's got a couple teddy bears that he talks to go to sleep, and this is kind of how he falls asleep. In his mind, he snuggles his bears close. They did have teddy bears back then. You believe that? I think they called them furry forest friends or something. But so he gathers them. He says, and he closes his eyes and he says, "Oh, Teddy's, let's have a picnic. Come, let's have a picnic in the grass." And oh, Teddy, what did you bring to serve me for my breakfast? And the teddy bear says, "Weesa wuzza? Weesa wuzza was it?" He said, "What? Oh, candied bread, I see. Wow, this is so delicious. What else did you bring, Teddy? Tush and lotion, tush, poof. Ah, honey wine. Oh, let's drink this all, Teddy. Oh, Teddy, can I put my head down on your belly? So, the honey wine. My head's resting on your belly, Teddy, as it goes up and down. Oh, and you, my other teddies, taking my shoes off and rubbing them. Yes, I'm falling asleep. My head's on Teddy's belly. Sleeping. Good night." We open. And all of a sudden, coming down the road, the jailers see who else but the captain of the guard and some guardsmen. And they come up to him. And the jailer says, "What do you want?" He said, "Bring me that old woman. Throw a bag over her head and bring him to me. Release her to me." The jailer went, "Well, we arrested." He's like, "I'm on here on orders of the king. So release the woman to me." So the jailer, they go back. It's kind of like the fairy godmother. She just stands up. She's like, "Ma'am, Mom, you're going to need to come with us." And they pull an onion bag over her head and tie it up. And they lead her out. And the captain of the guard and his soldiers throw in the back of this cart, and they trot off. And the fairy godmother, she's kind of just lying there, wondering. She's feeling the thing bounce, the carriage, and she's wondering what fate awaits her. Because when she's like, if I go back to but she's kind of patient. She's just wondering. She doesn't seem, she's not struggling or anything like that. And the carriage bounces off. It takes a lot of turns, and so she's like, that's weird. She loses, she was wondering if they were going straight to the castle or straight to the woods for execution, straight to a pyre to burn her alive, or to, dunk her in one of those lakes. But no, they head off in a while, and she feels herself, the cart stops, she feels herself pulled out, gone through a door, through another door, and thrown into this, like, a root cellar. And then the soldiers tromp off, and there's nothing. And then she hears the cart roll off. And then she hears a door open, and then the root cellar door open closes. There's silence, and there's just footsteps. And stepmother just kind of laughs.
There's no response from the other person. There's creaking of shoes or boots. The stepmother goes, I can smell the wand. I can feel it. I can feel it humming. There's still silence. And she goes, I know the wand is here. She goes, I assume I'm in your root cellar. And reluctantly, she feels something fumbling at her neck and feels the onion bag pulled off and the harsh light against her eyes. Or maybe it was a potato sack and onion bag's probably, but whatever. She's blinded for a minute. And then she comes into focus, and who's standing there but the stepmother, Agatha. And she says, you could smell the wand, huh? And the stepmother goes, yeah. I can sense it's part of me. And then the stepmother says, my name's Penelope. I believe you're Agatha, right? So yeah, let's refer to each other as Agatha and Penelope because it's easier than calling each other stepmother and fairy godmother for, it's easier for us to follow. Of course, Penelope. And then the fairy godmother, Penelope, says, why did you bring me here? Agatha says, I'll be asking the questions. So, okay, well, do you have a question? She goes, well, why? She goes, well, why what? She said, why? What are you? She said, well, I'm a fairy godmother. That's garbage. Fairy godmother. What are you? I said, well, I'm a fairy godmother. My job is to help the princess. She help her what? What do you want? What do you want with my stepdaughter? What do you want with the princess? Well, what is with your tone? She goes, I know, Penelope, what your game is. I know why I know what you're up to. I want to know why. Well, spare me this fairy godmothery, grandmothery, godmother garbage. What do you want from Cinderella? What? Why are you here? Well, I don't know. It's garbage. I don't believe you. Well, I don't know. We fairy godmothers, we do what needs to be done. Done by who? Done for what? I cannot explain. All right. Let's not get the horse face before the cart. Why? You're here to stop Cinderella from giving birth to the prince's son. Is that why you're here? Well, that's one of that needs to be done. Yes, Cinderella cannot conceive the prince's son. And you don't have a why for that, do you? No, I don't. That's why I'm here, to stop that. But why'd you make her a princess in the first place if you needed to stop that? I'm a soldier. Let's just put it that way. And I only get the orders as they come in. It's like a mission. I'm on a mission, doing what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is he needs to be stopped from conceiving within her. But mission before was to have her become princess. Is that so hard to put through your pea-eyed brain? You know whose root cellar you're in. You know who has the wand, so you better cut it out, Penelope. So your mission is to stop. Why not just kill the prince? You have some kind of... You have the wand. You have the power. You have the trust of the princess. Why not kill the prince? Well, part of our rules are no killing. No killing at all. No killing allowed. And so you can't just use some magical thing to prevent her from getting pregnant. That one's kind of more complicated, but it comes down to some ethical dilemmas. It would take me quite a bit to get into it, but yes, it's okay to change a mouse into a footman, but to change the inside of a mouse is playing. It goes against our ethics, and I don't even know if it's quite possible. It might be beyond. It's beyond my power. Oh well. Might I ask you a question? You can ask. Yeah, you can ask. Yeah. What do you plan on doing with my wand? What have you been doing with it? Nothing. Nothing. Getting some answers, I've been. Well, do you have any questions about the wand? Yeah, what happens after you change a beast into a man? Do the men come back, or if I send them off, is the ghost? I'm not clear. Never mind. I don't. It's not a question. Interesting. Well, stepmother, Penelope, what if I told you I had a solution to what if I had a solution to your little pickle? Well, why don't you tell me all about it, and I'll think it over. Psh! You think I trust you? Well, what would you give me for a solution? Well, why don't you pitch me, because I'm pretty sure I've run through most of the scenarios in my head, and I think I have all the angles covered. You've got nothing covered. Listen, fairy godmother, I'm a woman of the world. You're a woman of some other world, or some grandmother town, or wherever. I'm a woman that's had desire, and you come from some convent, clearly, but you don't understand the workings of young womanhood, clearly. Well, I've observed quite a bit, and we have quite extensive training on your behavior. So, what if I have a plan and it will work? What if I told you that? Do you might think of me as a nasty woman? You might even think of me as a fool or a haughty or whatever. I can see you judging me with your doe-like eyes. But I'm crafty, and I've thought of something that will get done exactly what you need to be done. No one will be hurt, per se. And what's that worth to you? Well, I'd have to think on it. What exactly were you thinking about? Well, first I want protection from whatever the horrible doom you were warning me about. But that's just part one. I have much more, but I need you to swear, if I tell you the plan, you'll be on my side, and you'll do exactly as told, and I need some kind of promise that I know I can hold over you. I say, I've never been in this position before. But as I said, my assignment is to do what needs to be done. And for now, Cinderella cannot... I don't know if I can trust you, old witch. What if I told you I visited Cinderella as you? And she told me she had relations with the prince. No. Did she protect herself? She is not with child, as far as I know, but no. Why, my goodness. Do we have a deal? I don't need to do what needs to be done, I suppose. Whatever the cost, I must agree to it. And so, they had two women, Agatha and Penelope. She untied her. She had the wand someplace safe, and she kept her eye on Penelope, but they sat down to a nice dinner. Now, meanwhile, while they were discussing things in the root cellar, a whole other load of mess was taking place, because the jailer's sitting there, and they had rid off, and about 5 minutes after they rode off, a grand caravan of soldiers comes down from the castle, and at the head of it is the captain of the guard. He says, "What are you back for?" And he said, "Back for? I'm back to check on the prisoner." He's like, "Check? What? What do you mean check on the prisoner?" And then the prince pushes his way to the front. And he says, "Give us the prisoner. I need to speak to that prisoner right now. I need to speak with her in her cell." And the jailer's just like, "What? What? He left with her about 10 minutes ago." Prince is like, "What? You left with her 10 minutes ago? You were with me 10 minutes ago." And everyone's confused. Now, meanwhile, if you've got a lick of common sense, you know that the stepmother was dressed as a captain guard and made off with her. And the prince is like, "What sort of black magic is? Arrest this man!" So he has captain of the guard thrown in jail. Now he's suspicious. Like, this is the second mysterious incident this guy's been involved in. So they throw him in jail, and that's where we're going to leave tonight's story. Is that the two women seem to be working together well, and the prince is definitely confused, and now the captain of the guard's in jail, and he's stuck. Like, should he spill his beans to the prince and risk the stepmother's ire, or what? So that's where we'll leave it tonight. But so that's tonight's episode, and I just like to wonder what people think about at night. And I always wonder, if you were a fairy godmother, and you had trouble falling asleep, what would a fairy godmother try to do to fall asleep? Like, what would she think of? You might think like fairies, like Tinkerbell style fairies, but then she's a fairy and she's kind of human size. And I don't know, what would she think of? We haven't got into her backstory really at all, or the lore of fairy godmothers pertaining to this particular world. So it's like she's obviously humanoid, but she has some other characteristics. So it's like, it sounds like she's lived some sort of cloistered life from what we've gathered this episode. So does she have a sensual sexuality to her? Has she experienced that, or is that not part of their development, or is it something that's repressed? Or is it something that comes out in some more metaphorical, subconscious way? Like, does a fairy godmother dream of stags racing across fields? Stags with giant horns, powerful. Would that be too obvious? Charging at each other and smashing into each other, trying to see who's the victor. Each time they collide, fur pops off of their heads, thunders through the woods. Then they back up and snort their cold winter air. Even the mist comes out their noses. They charge at each other again with this one-minded determination. Boom, pow, into each other. And then back again. They smash again. And then one seems to be getting more beat up than the other. He trots back, stumbles a bit. Go back again, crash. Stumbles again. They go back again. Sammy can't even get a trot, and the other guy smashes into him. Butts him in the side. Get the heck out of here. And then stepmother's been watching the whole time, and he scoops her up in his antlers. She sits on his antlers like much like a queen on her carrier. I don't know what they're called off the top of my head, but she's parading around through the forest on the antlers of this dominant buck. She's waving to all the things, and flowers are opening up and floating its petals towards her. She's blushing. And she's just being trotted through the woods on parade, through beds and beds of flowers, and whistling music, and she's holding her, back of her hand to her forehead and swooning. I don't know, is that what stepmothers think about? Oh, no, not stepmothers, fairy godmothers. So right now, Agatha is in a carriage, and in the back is a pig, presumably the fairy godmother, trotting towards the castle, kind of arguing as they trot along, and Agatha's like, relax, and the pig's like, rah, rah, rah. I don't think your plan's going to work. I don't think your plan's going to work. And Agatha's like, I am one of the foremost seducers in this part of the world. How do you think Cinderella's father was wealthy and handsome, and I seduced him, and I can teach any man to just seduce any woman. The pig's like, really? I don't know. This just sounds like a bad idea. I don't know. And she, well, quiet, we're almost to the castle. So Agatha puts the pig under a blanket, gets up to the castle, and dismounts from the carriage, and she goes up to one of the soldiers and says, I need to speak with the captain of the guard. He says, right away, ma'am, right away. So he goes in the guardhouse, and, I don't know if they use tin cans or passes word or whatever. So a few minutes later, this younger man comes out, stern-looking man, very serious. And he goes up to Agatha and he goes, what can I help you with? She says, I asked for the captain of the guard, not some pipsqueak. He looks her up and down, sneers, walks around the carriage, opens up the pig, and the pig snorts on him. He stares at the pig in disgust, covers the pig back up, and goes back to Agatha, the stepmother. So that's quite an ugly pig you have there. So yeah, it is an ugly pig, a stinky pig too. Horrible pig that is. By the way, where's the captain of the guard? He said, I'm the new captain of the guard. Cyril is my name. What can I help you with? So well, I need to speak to the captain of the guard, the original. He's in jail. Now, I suggest you be off and quit wasting my time. I go, well, it's quite important. Why is he in jail? He's in jail. What's he doing in jail? He's in cahoots with a witch. What are you asking? Who are you to ask these questions? He said, oh, well, as a matter of fact, I'm Cinderella's stepmother. You might have heard of me. And if you keep up this attitude, I'm going to make sure she knows about it. As far as I know, you're banned from the castle, so your threats carry no weight with me. So, oh, well, it won't be long. I'll be in that castle. And you, Cyril, will be out of a job. Maybe you could work for me and take care of my smelly pig. Yeah, well, why don't you tell me, so he was in cahoots with a witch, you say? Yeah, some pudgy witch, pleasant-faced, unlike you, kindly-looking woman. I guess he went after the prince one night, and, he's thrown in prison. He's going to be executed tomorrow. And that's all you need to know. Be off. In town jail, eh? He's in the town jail? Yes. So just be off with you. We didn't want him in the dungeon in case he had any, exploding spells type stuff. So be off with you. So she hops in the carriage, and they trot off. Fairy godmother, she's still the pig. She's like, oh dear, how are we going to... Well, he's an essential part of our plan, and now he's in jail to be executed, eh? Agatha, stepmother, just relax. So they go down to the jail, and she asks to see the captain of the guard in the jail. He's like, oh, no visitors. He's not allowed any visitors. And Agatha says, really? She goes, I had a conversation with a frog the other day about you. The jailer's like, what are you talking about? She goes, I know what you do with those frogs. Does your wife know?
about where you put those frogs and what you do to them? Does the new captain of the guard know about your frog fetish? Should I inform them? Or should I just go in and speak to the young man in the cell? Go on. You have only a few minutes, though. He's to be executed tomorrow. So she goes in, and the captain of the guard, as many of you know, he's kind of a dolt. And he's kind of weeping in his cell and, woeing. Oh, woe is me, the whole 9 yards. And Agatha sees him, and she says, sit up straight and quit whining, you fool. Tell me what happened. Oh, well, I didn't tell on you, ma'am. I didn't tell on you. I certainly didn't tell on you. Well, why? Well, I was the beast, and I was threatening the prince not to beat Cinderella. And then suddenly I changed back into a man, and the prince seemed very concerned with it. And then he asked me who gave me the power, and I told him the fairy, not you, but the woman down in the jail, the evil witch. So we went down to meet with her, and she was gone, and they said that I had come and got her and taken her away, and the prince had me thrown in jail for wizardry, I guess. So I'm doomed. Oh, quiet, you fool. Now, you need to pull it together and do what I say. Oh, no, it's all lost. They're going to execute me. They're not. Listen up. Young man, what's your name anyway, old captain there? Oh, Roland, ma'am, Roland. Well, I know, Roland, what in your heart of hearts you desire. What if I can grant you part of what you desire? Well, I'll never marry the princess now. I'll be dead, and, what if I told you? If you listen to me and follow me exactly, you could share Cinderella's bed with her. And not only that, she could bear your child. What would you think of sharing Cinderella's bed? Having her bring you a son or daughter? Well, that's not possible, is it? It will be if you listen to me and do exactly what I say. Okay. Well, don't worry, because I know that Cyril, the new captain of the guard they replaced you with, is a wizard, and he's evil. So, if anyone asks you anything, say that probably that witch turned into Cyril or something. Just let me handle things. All right, I'll be in touch. So she goes to leave, and she goes out to her carriage or wagon. And who's standing there but the new captain of the guard, Cyril? He's kind of still inspecting. He goes, Well, it's fancy you seeing you here, miss. I just saw you up at the castle. What are you doing down here? Jailer says you're meeting with the old captain of the guard. Why would that be? And stepmother looks him over. Says, oh, that's none of your business. He goes, oh, I'm on the king's business, so it is my business. Men's imprisoned for attempting to take the life of the prince and for practicing the dark arts. She says, well, and she throws herself at his feet into the mud. Oh, I love him. We've been lovers for years, and I've been in love with him for all my years. And oh, please have mercy, please have mercy. Please, he's not a bright man. He's been taken advantage of, and he told me everything. I'll tell you whatever you need to know. Oh, please just spare his life. Quiet, you woman. What do you mean he told you everything? Well, he said that there's this magical place in the woods where he met he called her a fairy godmother. She had some fairy powers, that chunky woman with the buttery face. And he showed me right in the woods where he met her. And I could take you there if you like. I have a feeling that's where the magic is about. And that's where she changed him into a beast, and she told him not to scare the prince, but to protect him from his evil toes. I think he was confused. I think she drugged him or something. He was trying to just eat his toes or something. It was all so strange. But I could show you. Why don't you climb in my carriage and we'll be off. All right, you witch. Well, he didn't say witch, he said wench or something. And so they hop in there and they head off.
And they head up into the deep woods, and she's serious. They go right to the spot where she first spotted the fairy godmother. She says, "This is right here. This is some." He said she would appear here, and she would mix her potions and such. And he gets out, and he kind of has a look over in his eye, like he's a UFO, a paranormal investigator. He's looking around and sniffing at the air. He goes, "I've always had an interest in magic, and I plan to catch me this magical woman, and for the prince and for our kingdom, so she can be used to defend our kingdom. So we'll enslave her, probably lock her up, and we'll use her power for good, for our good, for the detriment of all these surrounding kingdoms. And don't worry, I'll spare your Roland, your precious Roland, as long as we catch her. She's been disappearing." Well, I could tell you she appears right here quite often. And I could tell you, my pig sniffs out truffles. Why don't I let my pig out? And let's see what my pig scares up. And I just use this little divining rod here. So she lets the pig out. And then she kind of goes, come on, taps the pig on the head. And, fairy godmother's not pleased about it. And she taps it on the head a few times. And next thing you know, it grows from a pig to a giant beast, pig beast, 15 feet tall, growling, towering over the Cyril, the new captain of the guard. The stepmother kicks back her head and laughs. Now, Cyril, who's got the ugly face now? He's kind of panicking. He's like, what kind of... You're the beast. And she says, "Do away with him." And then meanwhile, the fairy godmother's kind of torn. She's like a giant monster now. She could probably kill the stepmother and take the wand, maybe. Or kill him. And she's just trying to decide what's going to be her best move. Or just go back to the castle, kick down the wall, and kill the prince. So she's sitting there in the copse of woods trying to decide what her best move is. And we'll have to wait and see till next time. The new king of the guard's in a bit of trouble. Agatha has planned to impregnate Cinderella, possibly with the old captain of the guard, Roland's kid, sperm? Sperm, okay to say on his seed. Let's just say this, his seed. And that's all we got tonight. What is Cyril's backstory? You wonder. Guy rose out of nowhere. He came right out of nowhere in the story. Crafty guy, looking, what is that called when you're ambition? He's got a lot of ambition. And what do ambitious people dream about at night, or what do they think about when they're falling asleep? Probably stepping on people's heads, like when he tries to fall asleep, maybe that's what he's counting. Like, that's what he's counting, is just like that lake that he first looked into. It was like a person's head. It's like, I'm going to cross this lake on the heads of lesser people. 1 step. 2 steps. I only need 2 people to get in the shallow. So next, this person's sitting up. I'll step on their head. And okay, on this step, that person's head. Oh, and this person's sitting on the floor of the water. Okay, 6, 7. Oh, now this person's on their knees and their head's just below the water. Step on their head and their head. 7, 8. Okay, these people are just standing, submerged except for the tops of their heads for me to step on. 9, 10. It gets deeper. 11, 12. Taller people. 13, 14. 15, 16. And now there's someone holding someone, like a regular high person and a little person. He's stepping on their heads. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now it's 2 full-size people. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Depth of the lake, it's 3 people. And then he keeps crossing. Stepping on these people, they're underwater. But he doesn't care. He just is headed to that other side of the lake where he thinks. I don't know what he thinks is there, but he keeps stepping. 30, 40, 50. He gets so excited, he's close. He's kind of prancing across the people's heads now. 60, 70, 80, 90. Skipping on the tops of people's heads. How inconsiderate. No, he just did a little spin. Oh, he almost fell off. Was that like 120 heads now? Oh, a handstand. He just did a handstand on people's heads, submerged in the water. What a jerk. Oh, somersault. He landed it too. Guy's got a lot of, what is that word that would describe him? Dexterity would be one, but spry. He's spry. I didn't even need a dictionary. Oh, how did he just do that? He tumbled like into a roll and then still stood up on two people's heads. That must have hurt the people that were drowning. Oh, and now he's doing knee pumps. Running Man. I didn't even know they had that back then. Oh, wow, he's good. Moonwalk. Oh, brother. Moonwalking on people's heads that are drowning across the lake. What is that move? This must be some kind of NFL touchdown, but they don't even have. Oh, he's across the lake. What a jerk. Well, good night. Oh, man, witch, what are you about? What do you want from me, you awful witch? And she's like, ha, 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 who's ugly now, you little pipsqueak, or whatever she was saying. And meanwhile, the giant pig monster is really, as far as we know, the kindly old fairy godmother. And she's looking at Cyril, who's cowering, and he's clearly going to be a troublemaker for her. And the fairy godmother, who's got her wand and has created a whole mess of trouble. She's like, who should I crush? And she's kind of leaning towards getting her wand back because that's kind of like a part of her, like almost like a child. But she's like, well, maybe. So she's debating inside, and all of a sudden, she's up against this lake, and they're both watching her and cackling and cowering and cowering and cackling. And all of a sudden, like, Cyril starts to weep. Oh, no, what now? Like, even whimpering worse than before. And like I said, this podcast is not for kids. Whatever language they used in the old days, this is what it translates to from the stepmother. She's like, holy fuck. And she's staring at the lake, and she just goes white, and she's not her complexion was already white, so it's like, she's like translucent with purple lines for the pig monster, who's the stepmother, fairy godmother, is like, what the heck? And she senses that they're looking at something behind her, so she goes to turn around. She turns around, she sees this giant muck monster, like made of muck and mud and dripping. It's got seaweed on it, some fish bouncing around on it. It's kind of coming out of the muck. And so she backs up, and she steps on Cyril, splats him accidentally, but she steps on him as she's backing up and splats him like a grape. So he's dead. Just pops. And she's kind of frozen, and the swamp monster, the muck monster, and the Agatha, the stepmother's like, pick me up, put me on your shoulders, ah! So, at this point, the fairy godmother's acting on instinct. She was thinking she would just left the stepmother, but she scoops her up with her hoof, throws it on her shoulders. Stepmother grabs on, not painfully, but, like a motorcycle onto her pig ears. She's like, run! So she turns around, she turns around and starts running down the path, and the muck monster takes a swipe at them. Some muck, gross, nasty muck, hits the backs of their necks, but they're booking down the trail, and then boom, 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 boom. This muck monster's booking right after them, and the whole forest bounce, boom, boom. A pig's a little bit faster than a muck monster, as you can imagine, even on 2 feet. So she's trekking, and she's just panicked. I mean, fairy godmother, I'm not positive. I don't know her whole story, but I can't imagine they've been trained. Maybe they have. I don't know. But she's crapping her pants. Well, she's a pig. She doesn't have pants. A pig monster. Not Porky Pig, but she didn't have pants on. Anyway, let's not develop that picture anymore. She's running. And the muck monster's running. Next thing she knows, she's running down into the flats, and she runs up right at the front of the castle. And then the stepmother's like, stop. You can't run. If they run into town, they're going to start smashing the village. So she's like, and then boom, Muck Monster's not that far behind. Muck Monster gets there. Both stand in front of the castle. It's like, castle shaking. People are screaming. Guards are coming to the, wherever those things are, where they shoot their arrows from, arrow slits and battlements, I think they call them. So they're like, what the heck is going on? The red alerts are going, and it's like a standoff. And the Muck Monster's standing there, and it's slowly closing the gap between the pig monster, and her. And meanwhile, I mean, now, like, people are coming from the castle. I mean, all attention's on this. But no one, the two beasts don't know it, and the stepmother's, like, trying to think. She's up there. She's like, and then boom, the Muck Monster's swinging. And for a little while, they're dodging, because the Muck Monster's a little bit slow. Pig's a little bit faster. They don't say as fast as a pig. They say as fast as a jackrabbit or something, but compared to Muck, Pig's kind of quick. But the Muck Monster, I don't know, it's not an idiot. So after a couple swipes, it just takes like a muck ball, boom, throws it at the pig's feet. And boom, the pig monster falls down at the stepmother. And now the Muck Monster's towering above it. And it's about to lay waste or something. I don't know. It's just growling, and they're cowering in terror. Not that differently than Cyril was moments ago. And then stepmother, she got an idea. She's like, stand up. So the fairy godmother climbs to her 2-hooved feet, or cloven feet, whatever you prefer. If you're a devil worshiper, you probably prefer cloven. If you're non, sorry, I pull you out of the story. So they stand up, and the Muck Monster and the fairy godmother, or the stepmother, so they stand up. And the stepmother says, "You're a pig. Wallow in this thing. Wallow." And the fairy godmother / pig monster is like, What? What do you mean wallow? She said, wallow, cover yourself in muck. And then she pulls its ears and makes a charge forward. Oh, she charges forward, does like one of those wrestling moves like a splashdown or something, when the fat person just drops on the skinny person. Like Tony Saragusa did it to Rich Gannon. Not that any of you care about some Raider game that happened 10 years ago or something. But yeah, he does a splashdown, and Muck Monster starts. She's like, roll around, wallow, damn you, wallow. So the pig and then all of a sudden her pig instincts start kicking in. She's wallowing around in this muck. And the Muck Monster, that's his, like, I guess for a Muck Monster, or this particular Muck Monster, he wasn't cut out for being wallowed in. So he kind of quickly dissipates, and the sun evaporates some of them. He gets absorbed into some of the pig skin, dries out. He's done. He's toast. So then the stepmother hops off, and, the fairy godmother's shaking some of the muck off, and then they start arguing. Hey, what the hell was that? What do you mean? Why'd you make me wallow? This thing could be in my pores now. What was that? You killed? You said you couldn't kill? You couldn't commit murder? It was an accident. I stepped out of my accident. They're going back and forth. What the heck? Where's a monster coming out of your magical land for? I didn't see it come out of land. It came out of the water. Why is a monster chasing us? I don't know. I haven't done my plan. That could be one thing. What do you mean you haven't done your plan? They send monsters after you if you don't got... The fairy godmother's like, to translate, they're still fighting. But to kind of translate their fighting, the fairy godmother, if they were being reasonable, she'd be, listen, my assignment was to keep the princess from getting pregnant. They want that done stat, They want a solution, the people that sent me on this. So they're sending this monster. It could be a message. It could have been going to do the job for me. So I got to get this done. We got to keep Cinderella from getting pregnant. It must be... That's could be why the monster was chasing us. And then the stepmother, again, they're fighting, so it's more slapsticky and hilarious, not like me. But this podcast isn't supposed to be a slapstick because that wouldn't work. It'd be like someone telling you a Calvin and Hobbes or Anyway, I'm distracted. I'm distracting you. But so, stepmother's like, You mean there's going to be monsters chasing me? I can't believe I got... Finally, up on the battlements, the princess... Silence, witch! Silence! And the boom, boom, boom. And he's got his hands cupped, or maybe he has... I don't know if they had any kind of thing to modulate your voice, but whatever, he's yelling down. He's like, Witch, what do you want from us? Or shall we do battle with you? And she's kind of wiping some of the muck off, and she's kind of, oh, wait, there's a whole army looking down at us. And he said, call off your pig beast. I'd like to propose a truce with you, witch, and call off your muck beasts. And so she's like, it's a lot of arrows and stuff, and probably won't do anything to pigs. So she does a little thing with her wand, changes the fairy godmother pig beast into the fairy godmother pig again, which, she's snorting away, pissed that she's a pig again. And then the fairy godmother's wiping, trying to wipe some out. And Cinderella's at the prince's side suddenly. She said, Mother? Mother, is that you? And the prince's like, Mother? Goes, that ugly witch is your mother? No, she's my stepmother. Stepmother? Is that you? He said, she's ghastly. I could not imagine giving birth to someone as spectacularly beautiful as you, my dear. Oh, thank you, Lord Prince. Anyway, stepmother, what are you doing? The stepmother's kind of takes her just a split second because she's so crouched. Oh, Cinderella. Oh. And she kind of acts like she's, I'm faint of heart from that battle with that ghastly mud beast they sent to kill you. She said, what are you talking about, stepmother? Well, I've always kind of hidden this from you. But I'm also your fairy godmother. I've had to play both roles in order to protect you. You see, you're so special, and your beauty is so rare, and your heart so pure, that there is evil in the world that wants to take it from us. And it has been my sworn duty since I married your father. I'm a special fairy to protect you from the evils of the world as both your fairy godmother and your stepmother, and I've had to play a hard role with a cold heart. And for that I am sorry, but it was only a role I played to keep you safe, and now they send beasts here to get you. And I must defend you, so I must be off to sleep in my forest bed, in the cold, alone. But in my heart I know I'm keeping a spit. You will not have me because I was cruel, even though I was in defense of you, my love. So I'll be off with my pig, my only companion. And good day. What? The prince is like, Halt, witch. You say you protect my love? That is a duty that deserves a place of honor on my side. I cannot cast you out into the woods and have you defend my kingdom. What sort of honor is in that? You could be my Merlin. You could serve at my side, keeping my bride so safe. We have a wizard's tower, but no wizard. And in fact, I've always wondered myself, why only wizards? Why are wizards sometimes good, sometimes bad, but witches? Why doesn't a witch serve alongside a prince and a king? Are we that ashamed of whence we come from the womb? I don't know. I'm being overly dramatic right now and speaking in a way. But come, won't you join us for dinner? And stay as our guest. I will grant you the wizard's tower, from here to eternity, in return for this simple act of protection against that nasty muck beast. And your pig, we will give it the finest place in our stable, the finest scraps of food, of garbage, more garbage than you can imagine, our stinkiest garbage to wallow in, a wallowing muck bog of honor. Stepmother, I could not accept. I cannot bring more risk upon my charge, Cinderella. No, there is no risk. We have a whole army and a whole castle and many to warn us. I will send men out across the land, and if a muck monster approaches, we will be ready. And what is a better defense than a good offense? We could strategize and find this evil that searches for my bride and destroy it at its heart. But only if you live inside the castle at a place of honor. Now, just to take you as an aside, this is the greatest, this is what Agatha, the Semmelweis, always dreamed of. I mean, she wanted to be the queen or the princess, and then worst case scenario, her daughters. So she would be like the step queen, or I don't even know what you call it, the queen-in-law, the princess-in-law. So she's like, man, you're going to let me move into this castle? Holy moly. And so she's standing there. She has to make this decision. So this is my dream come true here. Okay. And then she remembers, she looks down at her pig who's snorting, and she realizes, well, I'd like to ditch this pig in the stables with a mug bog or just leave it out here. But the monsters will probably keep coming. So she said, well, Prince, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that muck monster, he was a man who worked for you. An evil man, an ambitious man. He called himself Cyril. You recently made him captain of the guard, and he used his evil tricks to trick you and exploit a man sitting down in the jail named Roland, who holds a special place in my heart. For he is a good man, a pure of heart man, and my accent has changed, but I need that Roland free, and we have destroyed this evil Cyril. But his evil may lay deeper in your castle than you ever know. And Prince thinks and says, Gods, go down and free this Roland and bring him to the wizard's tower. And you, Madame, what shall I call you? Witch. She said, you shall call me Mistress Agatha. Mistress Agatha, will you not come to the wizard's tower, and you can meet with my staff, and if you uncover any more traces of evil, you can remove them from my castle. And man, so Agatha can't believe it. She's like, all right. And everyone's cheering, and it's like, and tonight we will dine in honor of Mistress Agatha. 3 cheers, hip hip hooray. And meanwhile, Cinderella's kind of sitting out there. She's watching this whole thing. And part of her buys it, but part of her is like, that lady used to call, I originally had another name. I wasn't Cinderella. Even my husband calls me Cinderella now. And that was the name they made up for me. I don't remember my name. My dad gave it to me, but then he passed away, and I had to live in the frickin' fireplace, and now this lady wants me to forgive her for making me live in the fireplace? She called me Cinderella, Cinderella. God knows the awful things her daughter did to me. Like, she was the one who protected. Like, I just feel gross. I need a bath. Like, she's like having a kind of not a breakdown, but you know when you just feel rotten, like you find out something's true. In this case, it isn't true. But someone lies to you and you think it's true, or you find out some truth that's very unpleasant. So she's like, oh, she just feels nasty and taken advantage of, and her whole world's kind of rocked. So, but her gut, which tends to be smarter than our minds, is like, Cinderella, if something's off here, this lady's a nasty bitch. It might be the term, or worse. I mean, I don't even know what to. She's like a crafty. But anyway, so the prince is like, they're having a banquet. Agatha seems to be getting what she wants. The fairy godmother, she's a pig, so she's going to be thrown into the stables and have to live in the garbage for a while. But, I mean, technically, she might be getting what she wants, not the way she wanted it. So we're really, and then Roland's getting pulled out of jail, and he might even get what he wants. If the plan goes through, the plan right now is that Roland's going to knock the boots with Cinderella. I don't know how they're going to pull that off and get her pregnant. Either seduce her or pretend he's a prince. I don't know. And Cinderella's kind of got what she wants. I mean, now it's kind of tainted. And who knows what this prince wants? And who knows why? We don't know why the fairy godmother's supposed to keep him from impregnating Cinderella. Is it because of some Game of Thrones Joffrey-type offspring? Or is it they need to end his line? I mean, we don't know. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, and so this is a good place to stop, obviously, as I'm transitioning. But yeah, I mean, it's not the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Or maybe it is for Cinderella and for the fairy godmother. For Agatha, she seems to be getting what she wants. And Roland he doesn't need to sleep with Cinderella. He wants to, but he's not. So I don't know, maybe it's not the Rolling Stones song. Maybe it's like another song that I don't know. But we're going to pick up where we left off, entering the castle, banquet, beasts on the horizon, maybe. But, I mean, this could end well. I mean, who knows, folks? Don't let it keep you up. I mean, everything could be well and fine. Cinderella could go back to her bedchamber, and she's feeling a little bit down. So, I need a nap after all these muck monsters, and this is just, she goes back with her attendants, and this is just so overwhelming. I mean, I thought that one was evil. Now she's telling me she's good. And, I just need to rest. And she might have some kind of dreams as she drifts off, or maybe she's drifting off. And, it's kind of like a David Lynchian, stepmother's changing into a pig. And then she's riding a pig, and then she's eating a bowl of muck. And more non sequiturs. Then she's in the muck. Then she's drowning in the muck, and she can't get out. And then she's under the muck watching Cyril dancing on the heads of drowning people. And then she's pulling herself out of the muck. And it's the fairy godmother who's pulling her out, and then her face changes to the evil stepmother. And then a strange man's making love to her. And then the prince is a pig. And then she's surrounded by pigs. Her whole room's filled with pigs. And they're all sniffing and eating garbage. And then she realizes her hands have turned into apples. And the pigs are eating her hands. And then her toes have turned into scraps. And they're nibbling away at her toes and her feet. And then she goes to scream, but she has a snout. And she's snorting like a pig. And then she runs. And she runs back to her childhood home. And there's her two evil stepsisters cackling and cackling at her. And then she's roasting. She's a pig. And they're roasting her in the fireplace where she used to sleep. And they're cackling. Cinderella, dressed like a fella. Stooping, booping, pop, pop, pal. Now you're a pig on a spit. Looks like you don't know shit now, Cinderella. Blah, blah, blah. My God, you swine, you really smell the boop, ba, ba. Go, go, ka. Wah, 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 wah. And then they're sitting down at the table and they're stomping their forks to the beat. Cinderella, whoop, fella. And then the prince is carving her. And they're feasting on her. Wow. And then their belly's full. Because the whole time she's been feasting on the swine. And her belly's full of warm sustenance. And then she's in a bed again. Belly full. Belly, almost like a belly full of warm ramen soup. As it carries you off like a drug to sleep. Good night. So after this is not too long after the incident with the pig monster fighting the muck monster. Actually, that very afternoon, Prince showed Mistress Agatha. He let the wizard's tower and let her move in, and he said he would go collect her things from her house. They let Roland out of jail, and he moved into the wizard's tower kind of as at Mistress Agatha's request, and he brought that afternoon the fairy godmother, who's still a pig, down to the finest pigsty you could imagine that he had his workers make, kind of near the horse stables, in the back of the castle. So, the stepmother's getting settled. Her and Roland are kind of going over crib notes about seduction and how he's going to impress Cinderella. And the fairy godmother's kind of down in the pig stall, and she knows that she's trying to figure out what she's going to do. She knows that Agatha, the stepmother, while she possesses the wand, she's pretty sure she doesn't know that at midnight she's going to turn back, like that the fairy godmother's going to turn from a pig back into a fairy godmother. So she's trying to figure out what to do. And she's also a pig, so she's not too happy, snorting around in the mud. And, if you're a human and you're in a pigsty in the late afternoon, it's not a pleasant place to be. That mud, it was warm by the sun all day, but it's getting chilly. So she's moving around, and she's also hungry, and, her pig instincts are kicking in. She's eating garbage, spitting it back up, whatever. And then all of a sudden the prince is out by himself. And the one thing about the prince is he's one of those people that likes to walk and think at the same time. He's a big walker. He's a big guy talking to Porky Pig style there. Inanimate objects and stuff. So he's like walks down to the pigsty, and he's just looking at the pig, enjoying the late afternoon setting of the sun. He starts talking. He's like, "Man, you really are a lovely pig." And the fairy godmother gets closer to him. So, when I was a boy, I had a pig like you. When I was a boy, we had a pig just like you. I can't remember what we called him. He was a lovely pig. And I always figure, are pigs? He goes, I always wondered. I never asked Mother if pigs were always women or men. I already know the answer to that. In human terms, we're the pigs, but I don't know if you're a girl or boy pig, to be honest. But you're lovely. He pats the pig, stepmother, fairy godmother on the head. She's kind of, sitting on the fence like, wow, this guy. She's thinking like, this prince. She's been expecting him to be evil because one of her missions is just to keep him from getting Cinderella pregnant. So, he goes, my parents, I spent so much time with this pig before father became king, because he was just like this, he was this low lord, and, there's that great war, and all that fratricide, and upper classicide, and everything, and he's like, father was the only lord left, and now he's king. So, I lived out in the country, and, the pig was my only friend. I still to this day don't have many friends. So maybe you and I, pig, could become friends. And the fairy godmother kind of likes that, and she's sniffing his his hand, and he pulls the apple out and gives it to her, clean, fresh apple. He kind of bears his heart about some other stuff and his love for Cinderella. The fairy godmother really finds her pig heart at this moment softening. And then he's like, oh, the dinner bells ring or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I got to get out of here. And she starts snorting. And he's like, oh, what's wrong, Piggy? What's wrong? And she's putting her snout towards the wizard's tower. And he's like, He's like, where do you want to go? Oh, what was I thinking? Why would I banish you to this sty out here when you probably want to be with your lovely Mistress Agatha? So he calls over one of the stable boys and he says, he goes, go ahead. And he goes, let this pig into the wizard's tower. Just let it in the bottom entrance, and it misses its master, and you don't need to bother Mistress Agatha. Just let the pig in there. So the stable boy lets fairy godmother pig into the wizard's tower, and she runs off and she just hides somewhere, and she's like, I'm gonna wait till midnight, man, to see what's going on here. And they have this big banquet, and Agatha and Roland go, and they drink too much wine, and they come back, and Agatha sends Roland to his guest room, and she goes into her wizard's bedroom, which is probably pretty nice, wizard's bedroom, and she dozes off, falls asleep. And midnight comes, and all of a sudden, Penelope, the fairy godmother, changes from a pig into a woman. And we'll just put the technical details aside, whether she's buck naked and covered in mud or not, because she takes care of those things, She goes back up, starts walking around the wizard's tower, a little bit exploring, and she gets into Agatha's bedroom, the wizard's room, witch's room at this point, witch's room, Mistress Agatha's bedroom. Agatha's out cold. She's a little bit loaded on red wine, so she's sleeping pretty soundly. And so she searches her room for the wand, and then she searches Agatha. Boom, she finds the wand in Agatha's sleeve inside, she had cut some of the, strings or stitches of her dress, and it was in one of the sleeves in between two layers of fabric. So she steals the wand, she goes back down, and she kind of hides in one of the sub rooms of the tower, gets some Z's, and in the morning she bolts. Meanwhile, Agatha and Roland are sleeping it off when all of a sudden, they hear, trumpets and booming drums. And, they don't have windows there, so sound kind of travels, and Agatha kind of sits up. And she goes, Mistress Agatha! And then they just keep doing that. Some court jester type just keeps yelling, the prince requests presents for the king and the queen for Mistress Agatha. Meanwhile, townspeople have got to be. Anybody that's trying to sleep or get anything done, I don't know. It's like one of those alarms when you're who knows? Agatha's like, well, how long has this crap been going on? And Roland kind of wanders in, and he's like, what? Oh, man. And so she goes down. She, gets dressed, cleans herself up, leans it. I'll be with you in a little while. And they just keep calling for her. She goes down. She's like, Roland, I got to see what this about. I guess the king and the queen want to see me. They probably want to, kiss my ring, show me some respect. So you just hang out here, or let me just go down and see what's going on. So she gets down and she opens the door of the wizard's tower, and there's a bunch of fancy pants servants of the king and the queen and the prince. And they're bowing to her, and they have some sort of thing to carry her on. And they're all a little bit nervous because she's a wizard witch. And say, yeah, the king and the queen and the prince request your presence for a demonstration of your powers. Say, okay. And they serve her breakfast while she's in that thing they carry. And they start carrying her. She's like, yeah, I can get used to this, man. You know, she's got like a little bit of, you know, breakfast wine and tea and cheeses and meats. And they pass by the stables, and she's just laughing, thinking about the fairy godmother rooting around for garbage. And meanwhile, she's eating bacon. And she's even laughing, like, at the sick possibility she could be eating her own pig, who is actually human. She's assuming that, you know, bacon's got to be cured and all that, so it's unlikely. So meanwhile, she's like, where are we headed anyway? And they're like, oh, you know, the tournament field, Mom. The tournament stadium. She's like, for what demonstration of your powers. So they lead her out to, like, the jousting, you know, battle stadium where they, you know, have jousts and gladiator-type battles. I mean, they're not brutal like the Romans, you know, probably people didn't die, but, you know, they have jousts and crap like that. So they get her out there, they drop her in the middle of the field, and, you know, they got the big tent for the king and the queen, and the next tent's for the prince, the next tent's for his cousin, and then, you know, rich people all the way around, you know. All the classes are kind of arranged to watch this, and she gets in the center of the field, and the king stands and they all clap for her, and they're like, Mistress Agatha, well, you know, we'll be proud to welcome you to service. But as the king, I'd like to see some demonstrations of your power, so we've arranged to have a small test of your powers. And she kind of laughs, ha. All right. And he says, so, we will test your powers now, you know, with the few things we've arranged quickly. Something like that, you know. So she goes in and she laughs, and then she sees off to the side. They're like beating these bulls and getting them angry, some of the servants. And he goes, first, a battle of the bulls. And these bulls are like really angry. There's like probably 12 of them, and they see her. She's got this crimson dress on, you know. And they're really banging. And then she she just laughs, ha. You're bulls. And she says something. She tries to say something witty. I mean, she's wittier than me, so that's why it's taking me a second. She said, you know, are you prepared to lose your bulls or something? I don't know. But and then she reaches into her sleeve to get out the wand. It's not there. So then she checks her other sleeve. Frickin' hey. She tries, you know, play back the night before, and she doesn't remember taking the wand out. And King says, what is the matter, Mistress Agatha? What seems to be the problem? And go away. And she's like, I gotta buy some. She says, well, where's my royal pig? She's like, how can I expect to be battling these creatures without my assistant? The pig is my assistant. I would assume the pig would be here. And meanwhile, she calls over. She goes, go get my soldier, too, and tell him I need him. And Roland wasn't too far off. He had followed. And she goes, go get a horse and go search my room for the stick like this long, you know, and bring it back to me, dolt. And he rides off to the wizard's tower, and they send servants off to the pig. And there's a little interlude, so they play some music. The jester juggles and, you know, pretends there's like another jester as a pig beating him up, you know, for, you know, whatever. They're selling crap, you know. The medieval glow stick equivalents. Meanwhile, Roland comes back with a real fast horse. He says, I couldn't find that stick, ma'am. She says, you looked at it? Yeah. And then the servants come back, and they're like, the pig's missing from the sty. And then the prince, he doesn't say anything. He goes, oh, ma'am, I forgot I brought your pig to the wizard's tower. She goes, you brought my pig to... What? Yes, yeah, I brought your pig to the wizard's tower last night. She goes, there's no pig in the wizard's tower. There's a pig belongs to the... So arguing, and even the king hits his son. Meanwhile, no pig, no wand. And the king starts losing his. You know what? Witch, you'll need to do battle occasionally without this. If you're going to serve us, my son, like Merlin didn't need a pig, so you need to release the bulls. And Agatha's just like, oh crap! All these bulls are charging at her. Meanwhile, she's like, Roland, you'll be my pig. And he's like, oh, he charges onto the field. She's like, come get me. Grabs her onto his horse. And she's like, run. And the horse is running. The bulls are running after the horse. And it's kind of, people are laughing. Like, is this comedy? Like, was this a comedy show? We didn't, Agatha's barely holding on. She's side saddle or bareback side saddle. And they're racing around. She's trying to think. She goes, okay, the furthest part of the field away from the king is where, like, the most impoverished people are. So she's like, she tears off the sleeves of her dress, ties it to the horse's tail, and then she jumps off the horse right by the poor people into the mud, so she's covered in mud. And she's like, keep distracting the bulls for now. And then she comes out of the mud. She's not totally covered in mud, but she looks very menacing, and she menaces the poor folks. Bah! You know I'm a witch. And they're all like, oh. And she, a couple of them recognize her, from the inn where she used to eat dinner and stuff. Oh, or the street, seeing her on the street. Wait, you're that horse-faced woman. I always knew there was something strange about you. It's not surprising you're a witch. She's looking him over. She says, yeah, I'll give the lot of you 2 choices. She goes, tonight, your entire neighborhood could feast on bull meat. Or the entire lot of you could spend the rest of your lives as cows. I'll prepare you for slaughter for the king's breakfast. Something. And she goes, oh, your bellies could be full of bull meat tonight if you listen and follow my commands as a witch. I'll turn you into cows for just a few minutes. And then you'll lead the bulls into your neighborhood and you could do what you wish with them. So they're all like, well, bull meat, hell yeah. Okay, close your eyes. Now, there's a secret to this illusion. I've got to be fast because those bulls are starting to get closer and closer. But basically, I'm going to turn you folks into cows. Now, when you look at each other, you're not going to, or yourselves, you're not going to, it's an illusion for them. It only works at a distance. So up close, you're not going to see cows, but you really will be cows. And you need to act like cows. So everyone start mooing. They all start, and they're not so sure, but darn it. I'll turn you all into real cows, I tell you. And then there'll be no bull meat for any of you. Look at all those bulls. You could eat them. Bulls, balls, So just act like cows. And moo. She goes, you two, you husky boys, pull this piece of wood out of the way. Ooh, and at this point, Roland's horse is tired, and the bulls have seen Agatha gesturing, so they're pounding towards them. She goes, moo. Now she goes, start walking to town, damn you. So, and these poor folks, they start getting into a moo. And then the bulls are charging. And she goes, now run, cows, run. And right as the bulls get there, they start picking up pace, and the bulls are chasing them. They gore some of the people, and then the people start running. Bulls chase them back into the poor part of town. Yes, and like I said, some people get trampled. Most people don't. And bulls are gone. A lot of the poor folk are gone to town. Meanwhile, they're probably feasting, slaughtering bulls. And Agatha wipes her hands. Bull challenge over. Meanwhile, from the king, the other perspective, she thinks that they were so far away. It's like she turned them into zombies, and like sent them off to some kind of their slaughter. They figure that they were all killed by the bulls, or I don't even know. It's just like one of those things that when it builds the rumors better than what happened. So they're like, yeah, zombies or, whatever. Because they can't tell they were mowing. She thinks that they were, like she possessed the whole crowd of them and sent them to their death. So that's pretty good. But, the king, he calls her back. Roland brings her back. He goes, oh, now I want you to fight 20 of my best soldiers. So he sends out the soldiers and she says, ditch the horse, Roland, come with me. And again, leads them off just out of hearing distance from the king and them. And the soldiers charge at her like they're, stop. She goes, I want you to face me. Look me in the eye before we fight, before you lose your lives to me, or your pride. Now line up before you charge me. Show me you can fight with honor. So all the soldiers stand at attention. And she goes, now I'm an insidious witch when you're my enemy and you stand in the field against me. So recognize this will be the last time you ever face me in battle, whether you live or die, or learn to respect me. Learn, because if we charge into battle together, you will not question me. You will not turn against me for pain of this. She reached over and she said, Roland, beat the shit out of yourself. Run off. He's confused, but he goes, ah! And he starts fighting himself. Maybe she puts some ants down his back. I don't know, But he's fighting himself and beating the crap out of himself. And I just stricken him with madness. And he's fighting, and everybody's just kind of watching. Again, it's kind of funny and strange. She goes, but for you, 20, I'm going to select 4 or 5 of you. I'm going to turn you to the darkest depths of your soul, the most evil place in your heart. And I will make a monster out of you. And you will slit the throat of every man that comes within 4 feet of me. You'll destroy me. And then you'll go back and you'll sleep with these dead men's wives. Make sweet love to them. And then their mistresses, you'll make sweet love to them. And the babies you'll cast out of the kingdom. But I'm not going to tell you which ones I'm going to select, so I want you to pull apart. Close your eyes and spin in a circle. And then prepare to be destroyed by the ones I've chosen, who will be making sweet love to the mistresses and wives and the daughters of all of you. So close your eyes and just picture that. Oh, the sounds your wives and your mistresses are making as your friend, formerly your best friend. Yes. If there was only something you could do. But none of you is strong enough to beat all. So she sets it in mind. These guys start looking, and then they just start beating the crap out of each other. Simple scam. They start pounding. Then they get madder and madder because some of them actually done that. I mean, men are pigs, so then like the guys, they're pounding. You did slam up. They're beating each other, and then finally, enough. The soldiers are bloody. No one's dead. A couple got some broken bones. So they clear off the battle. There's a lot of you. And he goes, bring the beast from the dungeon. Roland's back at her side, a little bit beat up himself. And he goes, witch, we captured this beast in the field of battle many years ago. A battle against a warlock, Damien or some such. So they bring out this beast. It's about 14 feet tall. Kind of looks like a modern-day werewolf, like half dog, and not half man because it's so big, but some kind of orc-type creature. And Agatha's like, fudge. What are we going to do? And this thing's snarling. Its fangs are dripping. And they got chains on it. It eats a couple guys, just like in a movie, so you'd expect, whips its chain, bites one guy's head off, wraps the chain around another guy, pops him in half. And it's like, meanwhile, there's all these soldiers with those pikes, like the long spears, keeping it in case it was come after the king or something. Even reaches in the audience, bites somebody in half, swallows them, burps, for a little comic relief. But we don't do that here. We don't go for those kind of trope, cliche type things. So it's snarling at Agatha and Roland shaking. Roland he goes down on his knees, starts praying. And she goes, "Get up, you frickin' dog." And then she's like, huh. And she rips off a piece. He's wearing leather mail. She rips off his shoulder pad that's kind of dangling and rolls it up and smacks Roland in the back of the head. She, "Get on all four knees, dog." Roland's crying. Every time he cries, she smacks him on the back of the head. The creature's kind of walking. And Roland's making... She's, "Quiet, dog." And then she's going to go towards the monster. Crawl towards him. And the monster's kind of like snarling still, but it's curious. Like, and then she smacks it, rolling again. She's like, "Give me your paw." And she shakes hands like he's a dog. And the creature's like, and then she goes, "Well, next time I hit you, I want you to play dead. And you better play dead or you're going to be dead." She'll play dead. And she smacks him again. He plays dead. And she just backs away. The werewolf creature kind of sniffs Roland, rolls him over, kind of like, and he sniffs him again, licks his face, and she looks at it, and then she gets angry, like the queen just killed her, or Agatha just killed his baby, ferocious, roaring. And then she goes, "Easy, boy, easy." And then she's like, maybe this isn't such a good idea. This thing might just freaking eat me. She backs up a little more. She calls out the corner of her eyes. She goes, "Send me a servant, page, come here." Some kid runs on the field, crap in his pants. And she goes, "Go and ask for the honor of some of the queen's perfume. It's a lovely perfume you have, queen. Might we have a sample? Go get it, fetch." Meanwhile, king, she's... Easy, beast, easy. It's snarling at her. It's getting closer. She smacks the thing with the leather thing out of the snout. Backs up. It's still snarling. And Agatha digs deep. She just pushes all the fear she has out and brings up this powerful dominance she has. Because it's going to be her or the beast. And she said, "Oh, damn, bruh." And the beast is still snarling. She said, "I told you to stand down." She smacks it again, snarls at her again, snaps at her, and she hits it again. And then she switches. She goes, "Easy, girl. Easy, boy. Take it easy. Mama's here. And the beast's kind of confused. And then she doesn't do anything for seconds. She just, when it's like kind of confused, she smacks it again. And again, this is back in the old days. This doesn't fly nowadays, folks. You can't do this to your animals. And then she goes nice again. And then meanwhile, the page comes back with the perfume. And it's got one of those, things you squeeze. And the creature's getting... She doesn't... snarls at her again. She sprays some perfume right... Sprays perfume right in its face. And it stings its eyes. And it scares it. And it runs off. And squeaks. And then she goes, "Get back here. Get back here." And it looks back behind her. It's cowering now. Then she comes back. "Good girl." Bam! Smacks it again. She goes, "Sit." And she basically, a couple more times, she pets it. Doesn't do anything. And then the slightest, thing to confuse the animal, maybe it, moves its paw. Boom! She hits it. Or sprays it in the face with more perfume. And beast is broken. And she pulls out her hand, sniff. And then she goes, "Lie down next to him." And she looks at him, and she smacks it again. And then he looks for Roland, plays dead, kind of. She goes, "Bring these two back to my thing." That's it. Demonstration's finished. My honor to serve you, king and queen. But I must rest now, and my pig needs to be found. Find my pig. All the last of you. She's screaming at everybody. And then she goes up to the king and the queen's pavilion. She goes, and be warned, that man Cyril that was working for you, he was in cahoots with someone, a doppelganger, someone who can take any form. Evil, weak-minded witch, who most loves the form of a puffy-faced woman, bulbous nose, gray hair, a face you fools might call sweet, but only waits to destroy you. So if you see that, now I might be in that form, and if I am, you could ask me for the magic word, the secret word, to know it is me, and it will be sassafras. But if you see the kindly-faced, puffy woman like that again, she does not know the magic word, kill her on sight, or bring her to me. She goes, that is all. That's all for the day. And then they blow the king and the queen, and everyone's cheering for Agatha. She heads back to the castle, wiped out, pissed. You know, she's got she's got to get crafty now. Like, her wand's gone. Fairy godmother's gone. Fairy godmother could try to get vengeance on her, or, you know, she's without her power. But she's got this werewolf now, so they send the werewolf and roll him back. Well, it's not a werewolf because it's just a wolf monster, but close enough. So, yeah, that's where we're going to end tonight. And, you know, I can kind of imagine the wolf monster heading back and dreaming about, I don't know, what a wolf creature dog monsters dream of. Yeah, maybe bones, lots of bones with meat on them. Pigskin, like being wrapped in pigskin and eating its way out. She'd probably need a pretty big bed for this thing, because it's, like I said, like 15 feet tall. I don't even know where it's going to sleep or if it accidentally eats some people, but it might dream of, you know, female dog, beast, wolf women. Probably. And I mean, because even though it's a monster, I mean, if it was created with a purpose, but if it's just some random monster from the woods, you know, deep, dark woods or somewhere, like a natural, evolved creature of that time period and place, like indigenous species, is that right? Not an invasive species. Yeah, if it's just like, you know, it's been taken out of its environment, but probably back when it was like, it probably was pretty high on the food chain. Wanted to spread its seed around, but again, you don't want to overly spread it, like, because you don't want to overpopulate. It's probably lived in harmony with nature. Maybe it was a mammalian, so it had like a long gestation period. I don't know these terms, but so maybe it's dreaming of one or two pregnant wolf women or more. Maybe he was like the dominant male, or maybe he wasn't the dominant male, and that's why he got caught. Obviously, he's not the dominant creature anymore because he's been domesticated, or just for Agatha. But yeah, it's interesting to think about, like, do animals even dream? I mean, because if you dream of food, you dream of sex, you probably dream of fight and flight. I mean, maybe they are like, they have, you know, like you have that dream that you're falling and you wake up. I mean, animals, I mean, like dogs, they seem like they can fall asleep and wake up in seconds. Or, you know, I'd love, you know, can you sleep with your eyes open? I can't. So, those are a lot of things to wonder about as you start to drift off. But, well, imagine, yeah, if you're still drifting off, like, what if we gave this giant dog wolf beast a bath, blew dry it, washed it with some conditioner. And then some of the servants fluffed up its hair. And, it was a cold night. You could just lie. And it was like your warm, be like kind of like a electric blanket, but alive. And it would come with its own soundscapes, like people have. Like, something like that. Nice. Maybe it doesn't have a deviated septum, so it doesn't snore. Just this warm, puffy. Smells kind of something like cinnamon and pumpkin pie spice in heaven. You're just slowly being breathed in and breathed out in a cloud of formerly wild animal. Now, just a bed for you. Just keep you warm. And that's, its cold nose touches the back of your neck, but you're not asleep yet, so it kind of feels good. And then it warms up to the back of your neck. And you can feel that it thinks it's there to protect you, so you're safe. I mean, how could you possibly be safer than sleeping on a giant beast that will protect you tonight and tomorrow against anything? Even if it's that guy at work that keeps threatening to ask you out or else, or it's that something you're afraid of that you can't quite put your finger on it. That anxiety that's just below the surface. This creature's there for you. Might be waiting at home, but maybe you could mentally unleash it tomorrow. Or just have an extra confidence that's there, like every night. You sleep in the bed of a beast. Your bed is a beast. And that gives you an advantage over these schmoes out there. I fall asleep every night, no problem. Well, yeah, I used to have trouble sleeping until I got this Wolverine wolf beast. And now I get to sleep just fine, buddy. So you're going to pass me up for another promotion? Good luck. Because I'm rested. I've been on the belly of the beast, literally, like in my electric blanket, puffed, puff fur from a blow dry, baby powdered, even some bows we put in there. I tried to braid it, but it didn't work out. But yeah, so that's some bad beast I got. So yeah, just keep messing with me, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna go home. I'll sleep just fine. Yeah, I used to not be able to sleep, but not anymore. You know what? If you knew where I was sleeping, what I was thinking, you'd never sleep again. But since you're listening to this podcast, you can't sleep. So go ahead. Drift back into the beast. He's there. She's there. Yeah, I guess I kind of identified as male, but could be a female. And you're safe. Very, very safe. And tonight we pick up right where that's where we left off. And tonight we pick up right where we left off with the fairy godmother, the stepmother, Mistress Agatha, after her victory on the fields of battle, practice battle, and Roland are returning to the wizard's tower. And they go in. She's still kind of bent out of shape about her missing wand and the missing pig, but they got all points bulleting it out, searching for the pig. They're gonna toast each other in victory. As soon as they pop open the door, who's standing there in the shadows but the fairy godmother? She just reaches out her wand and does a little plank, plank on their foreheads. Mistress Agatha, the stepmother, and Roland, the former captain of the guard, and now Agatha's kind of sidekick, they turn into maggots. The fairy godmother drops them right in a bucket of slop that had been left by the prince for her when she was a pig to snack on. So they're crawling around and
all sorts of junk and garbage. And since maggots can't talk, we don't know what they're saying, but they're probably thinking some nasty stuff about the fairy godmother. And don't ask me how it works if you had a huge, mammalian brain and then you're shrunk down to a maggot, but you retain your consciousness and all that somehow. That's why they call it magic. And then the fairy godmother plinks herself and turns herself into a version of Agatha, turns herself into a doppelganger of Agatha, and she sets off to the main castle where the princess and the prince stay. She asks to see the princess, Cinderella. And they set her up, they send her in the waiting room, and, after all the to-dos of the past day, Cinderella calls her into a sitting chamber, and she's in there. She's kind of looking cold and suspicious, and she looks the fairy godmother, who is actually the stepmother Agatha, up and down. And she sits down. They sit down. She gives her a seat, and she sends her staff out. But they don't say anything, and the fairy godmother is kind of saying, hey, Cinderella. She goes to give her a hug, and she's just ice cold to her. And she says, Oh, my darling, how have you been? It's been so long. Did you see me in battle? Did you see everything I did? Oh, and when I battled that muck monster. Oh, Cinderella, I did it all for you. I know, I'm so sorry that I traumatized you with pretending to be your stepmother. And Cinderella says, I'm not speaking to you. I have nothing to say to you. Oh, Cinderella, I understand. I had to protect you. You see, I was sworn by your father. Your father, bless his heart, and a king before that, to protect you and keep you safe. Here, let me go into my form that you might make you feel more comfortable. And she plinks herself in the wine. She changes into the fairy godmother. Cinderella just crosses her arms and shakes her head silently. And she goes, oh, I know you must be so angry about those daughters I had and how horribly they treated you as a child. But you should know that they weren't actually my daughters. They were actresses from a traveling circus. They were traveling performers I hired. And yes, I hired them as children, and I kind of raised them like they were my children, but they were terrible. Even they were acting, but even on the inside they were terrible. And I had to let them. It was to build your character, Cinderella, and to keep you hidden from dark forces that want to get their claws into you. And that is why. I did not mean for your life to be so painful and tough. And I tried to be your fairy godmother and get you into the ball and get you with the prince and all that. I'm sorry, please. Oh, please, Cinderella, speak to me. Cinderella doesn't say nothing. So, godmother, it's like, man, this is a tough case. She goes, well, I spoke to the prince the other day. He's much lovelier than he even seems like from far off. He was telling me about his father being a lowly lord and his childhood and how lonely it was and how you were like a rose sent to him from the heavens, that you floated down like a rose floats on the wind, and how intelligent you are and smart you are, and I can see how you love him so, Cinderella. This kind of started to soften Cinderella a little bit. The fairy godmother saw her end. She was like, "So, Cinderella, do tell me, what is love like? I've always wondered. I mean, I loved your father so, of course. But I always wondered what it was like. Oh, Cinderella, do you dream of like when I was speaking with the prince, I imagined what loving him would be like wondering if you could go back in time and join him as a boy and fall in love with him then, and just spend time with him as a boy and then as a young man and then to spend your whole life with him. Is that what it's like?" And now she's really onto something because Cinderella starts to smile. Do you just dream of floating in his hair and his eyes, Cinderella? The prince's dreamy eyes and his hair. And imagine it would take you away to anywhere you wish you would be. But that would be the only spot you wished you were in.
Like something so magical. Is that what love is like? Is that what love is? That his breath is like a puffing of a puff pastry inside of you, puffing your heart and your soul, your eyes and your bosom and your loins. You know, I'm not so different than you as a human. But all of a sudden, Cinderella kind of goes from identifying to get a little cross. What is it you want, really? What is it you want? Why are you here? Why have you been following me supposedly my whole life? Like, first you're two different people, and you take me to the ball, and you don't want me to go to the ball, and you're mean to me, and then you're nice to me. We could, and now you're saying my father, you worked with my father, and this is all ridiculous. You know, I could have you executed. I'm the princess. I need to. You say you're here to protect me from what? From what dark forces? Oh, dark forces. Oh, watch out for those dark forces on the rise. They're on the horizon coming for me. Oh, you know what? I think you're just a petty old ugly crow sometimes, and then a puffy-faced, grandmotherly, childless. Yeah, I don't even know. With your little magic wand. And you come here. You know what your magic wand's done for me? It's made my heart cold. You know what the prince has done for me? Mostly he's melted my heart in a good way, not a melted like a fire that would make my heart liquid and melt, and then I would pass and die. But you, with your games, with your two faces and your two personalities and your actress daughters putting on a show, you think I don't trust you, woman. And you tell me I cannot carry the prince's child. You won't tell me why. You're going to need to come up with an answer for that, okay? Dark forces doesn't cut it. I love the prince. I'm ready to have his child. And nothing you can say can stop me. The fairy godmother, she's just in shock at this. She's just like, because she's, this is her duty to keep Cinderella from bearing this prince's child. And we don't understand why. Even she doesn't understand why. But she knows that this could mean something horrible, could befall everyone. Like they sent that muck monster. Who knows what they're sending next if she can't get her job done. So please, Cinderella, calm down. I am so sorry. I take all the blame. I take all responsibility. You're correct in everything you say. Well, you fairy stepmother. Here's the deal. I'm going to be a good princess. Child or no child. You still have a little chance left. But I'm going to be a princess that's remembered forever. In this area, this region, this continental zone. So, here's what's going to happen. And listen close. You're going to take that wand, and you're going to leave it with me. The fairy godmother's like, oh. And then what you're going to, and then this is what you're going to do. You have 3 days. You're going to leave that wand with me. And you have 3 days. And I'm going to give you a task. And then if you're not back with the task complete in 3 days, in my name, you're going to complete this task. That prince is going to impregnate me like a litter of however cats get so pregnant they put out all those kittens, or pigs with the piglets, whatever. I'm going to be that pregnant with the king's children. A pack and a litter and a murder of crows all in this womb. So you listen close. You have 3 days. Now, you might not remember this while you were sleeping in your linens with your 2 daughters in your precious bedrooms. But while sleeping on a straw mat in the corner by the fireplace, you know what nipped at me every day for all my days? Little bugs that live in those beds. nipping, and sucking at my blood. Bed bugs. Every night of my life I was crawling and itching. Not to mention straw. Why? Who thought of that? Yeah, let's sleep on something pokey and smelly that pokes you and has bugs in it. I don't know what awful monster. But anyway, the majority of the poor and the near poor in this town sleep in straw beds and stricken not only with the pokey straw, but with bed bugs. And I see them itching. I see the bugs jumping and nipping and dancing, and the sores on the poor little girls. And I can only imagine the sores when you have them in your bottom and the back. You know that spot on your back of your ankle that always itches more than everywhere else. Why? Does your wand have an answer for that? Huh? Or your ear? You know, did you ever have an itchy ear? And then the kids, they think the kids just made fun of me because I was Cinderella. What do they called me Itchy Butt. Huh? Your daughters called me that, and worse. So, no magic. Entire town. No bed bugs. You have 3 days. Otherwise, whatever these legs are going to be, that prince, he's going to be. And I find him irresistible. I ache for him. You don't think this is easy for me, do you? So get on it, you nasty-faced, kind-faced Two-Face. I want the bedbugs gone, or the prince will have a spark of life in me. And this won't be the last. Remember, as you carry this task, that you and your daughters burned fires for night after night after night after night after night, and told me not to clean up because you had a surprise for me. Oh, Cinderella, we love you, so we have a special surprise coming for you, so don't sweep that fireplace. Oh, Cinderella. And you would giggle at each other. You look like you don't even remember that. And then you took all those rotten lentils you'd been saving, you threw them in the ashes, and you told me to pick out every single one. And you said you knew how many there were, and that if I didn't pick out every single one, I can't even remember. Don't think I forgot any of this. Okay? The lentils. You're going to pick every bed bug, too. Get rid of them all. If I see one sore on one pore, sore on a pore, I'll be the whore. Get out. With that, Cinderella threw out the fairy godmother, stepmother, and she was gone. And now she had work to do. And that's where we'll leave it tonight, is her new quest to rid the village of bedbugs. And who knows, I don't even know if it's midnight. I doubt it's midnight because that would be after the princess's bedtime. But waiting back at the wizard's tower are 2 angry maggots. They could be changed back into normal or not. So that's where we're going to leave it. Stepmother might be in love with the prince. Cinderella definitely is. Can you just imagine poor Cinderella picking through fire ashes and picking up one lentil? And she's so kind, according to tales. I don't personally know her. I just am relaying this story to you. But she probably said something nice to every lentil and brushed it off. Oh, lentil, you are so unevenly shaped. You're wonderful. Oh, second lentil. Oh, lentil 2. You have a bump on your side. You're such a special lentil. Hop right in. Oh, here's lentil 3. And you are so plain that you remind me how wonderful it is to just be plain. It's so special, your plainness. Oh, here's another lentil. You're a little heavy lentil. And that's good, because you're denser than the rest. That means you're more packed with good stuff to help me grow in my beauty and my kindness. fact, the sunshine's filled you with goodness. Thank you. Oh, and here's 3 lentils together, 3 best friends that are lentils. And friendship, though I don't have it, and I cry my sleep, I dream of friendship like you 3 lentils have, sticking together so closely in a fire. Was your friendship forged by fire? Or was it so fiery and powerful that it burned everything around you? Well, good day to you 3 lentils. Oh, and here's another lentil. Oh, no, you're not a lentil, you're a stone. Well, get the heck out of here, stone. I'm counting lentils. Oh, and here's another lentil, and it makes me want to sing. Though the stepmother says my singing's no good, I'm going to sing to you, lentil. Go on in. You made me sing. That's what you're special for. Oh, and here's a lentil. And you have a little look about you, lentil, that you're so smart and sharp. You just want to listen. So go ahead and go in with these lentils and listen to what they have to say. Yes, I'm picking lentils, but I don't have a lentil song. Oh, hello. More lentils. Welcome. Welcome to my lentil party. You and you 2 lentils, are my guests of honor, along with all the other lentils, because I am so thankful to find you in these ashes. It is so wonderful to meet you, lentils. And I do mean that. Oh, you're covered in dirt. Let me brush it off. Let me get these ashes off you. Oh, yes, lentils. Let me dust you clean, for the dust is mean, and lentils are so bold. Okay, good day. And just hop right in with these other lentils. There's thousands more. You fall on the floor of lentils. Oh, lentils, what do you dream of? Do you dream of being away from this fire? Oh, I'm going to pick you up and talk to you. Do you dream of being free in a lentil town? Maybe you would live in mushrooms and roll about, and you could have a little lentil called Lentilette, and maybe Papa Lentil, he's kind of the guy in charge, and Handy Lentil could clean up and stuff, be a brainy lentil who's so smart, and one who loves jokes, and another lentil that is handsome and loves himself, and one that's strong, tall, and handy, that could be more like one that likes to surf but doesn't have any other purpose, and other lentils that also have one trick like a teacher or a librarian or a scientist, though science hasn't been invented and our religion forbids it anyway. You could be a priest, and you could all live together, and maybe some lentil-eating human would try to disrupt your way of life. But that is what I'll dream of tonight, is your lentil town.